Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, The Age of Gods, My Tauren Evolution Can't Be Controlled. Chapter 91. Hearing Chen Yi say this, the boy in the agricultural priesthood was elated. Thank you for sending me. My name is Bai Zhu. You can call me Xiao Bai. I am a senior in Longxi number 3 middle school. I will take the college entrance examination right away. Chen Yi nodded. My name is Chen Yi, a high school student in Zhangzhou number 1 middle school. Bai Zhu couldn't help being a little surprised when he heard Chen Yi report his family. I heard that there is a new student in your Zhangzhou number 1 middle school, who directly eliminated everyone else when the plane invaded. After Bai Zhu finished speaking, he looked weird. That freshman, wouldn't it be you? Chen Yi couldn't help but feel a little bit dumbfounded. Then he nodded his head and admitted it. Bai Zhu looked exaggerated. I'll go, such a fierce man is by my side. After speaking, Bai Zhu put on Chen Yi's shoulder. Her man, are you interested in a fight? Hearing Bai Zhu's request, Chen Yi shook his head quickly. He is not a madman. Moreover, you are a junior in high school and I fight in the first year of high school, which is not ashamed. Then Chen Yi took the harvest flower. If you don't want it anymore, I will put it on my plane if you don't want it. Bai Zhu nodded quickly. Yes, of course. After that, he took a card with a face value of 100,000 sacred coins for nothing. Look at it, there are 100,000 magic coins inside. Chen Yi took it and checked, then nodded. Well, yes, exactly 100,000. That Bai Zhu was also the first time he invested the flower of harvest on his plane. Thank you, where are you going next? Hearing this, Chen Yi shook his head. I don't know yet. Maybe I will play here next time, and then I will cultivate my own plane. Chen Yi remembered one thing. That is, the skeleton labyrinth was renamed the underground labyrinth. I haven't paid much attention to it before. I don't know what's more in the underground maze. If there are any semi-artifacts that can be made out, then it will be comfortable. At this time, Bai Zhu suddenly said, why don't you join our team? We are going to a mid-level team to take risks to obtain resources to prepare for the college entrance examination. It happens that you are also on vacation. Are you interested? Chen Yi was a little curious after hearing it. Do you still need to prepare for the college entrance examination? Bai Zhu nodded. Yes, mainly because I heard that the college entrance examination is too difficult, and there is an epic plant called sunflower in that middle plane. So we are going to go to that plane from the temples and get this sunflower in our hands by the way. Chen Yi Bai Zhu was a little curious in saying this. What is this sunflower for? Chen Yi had no money before, so some schools did not buy the books he bought, and some knowledge about those special resources was lacking. Bai Zhu heard Chen Yi's question and didn't think much, and then said. The sunflower is a kind of flower that can breathe extremely high temperature flames. As long as you plant such a piece on your own plane, then the first few waves of racial invasion during the college entrance examination will be burned to death. This is also to fight for some breathing opportunities for the race of our plane. When Bai Zhu said this, Chen Yi understood. This means that the sunflower is similar to the existence of a moat plant. With this sunflower, the chance of passing the college entrance examination will be greatly enhanced. Thinking of this, Chen Yi felt that it would be good to plant such a sunflower on his plane. Okay, I promise you, let's go together. Seeing Chen Yi agree, Bai Zhu nodded. Okay, then see you in the Dragon City Hall of Gods in 3 days. This is my mobile phone number. Let's exchange it. Chen Yi nodded, then took out his cell phone and exchanged the cell phone number with Bai Zhu. Bai Zhu then said, I'm leaving first, and I will call when the time comes. After speaking, the whole person disappeared. Seeing that Bai Zhu had left, Chen Yi flew to the teleportation point of the Yan plane that day. The time ratio between this day's development plane and the main plane is 1 month to 1 day, and 3 days on this day's development plane is 3 months. Chen Yi does not have such patience. As for whether Bai Zhu lied to himself, Chen Yi had no doubts at all. Because there is a law on the main plane. Once the gods of the main plane harm each other, the god of justice, the god of law, and the god of destiny will know for the first time, and the god of judgment will immediately go to arrest and punish the god of punishment. But these legal rules are of no use to gods who have reached an incredible state. This is mainly to maintain order among the lower level deities. Arriving at the teleportation point, Chen Yi directly spent 1,000 magic coins to buy a ticket to Dragon Market. After Chen Yi arrived in Longxi, he found a hotel for 100 god coins a day and stayed there. The main plane is extremely rich in material, and it is still very comfortable to live here. Chen Yi was lying on the hotel bed, and his consciousness was immersed in the plain of harvest. At this time, the tree of life had sprouted and took root, and the surrounding land began to transform into jade. At this time, the ginkgo biloba trees showed signs of decay and wilting. The tree of life has absorbed too much life energy and nutrients. But only in this way, the tree of life will grow rapidly. Chen Yi looked at the underground maze. The gate of the original skeleton labyrinth has disappeared, and the Tauren people have also discovered the remains here. But without Chen Yi's oracle coming down, none of them dared to explore the underground palace privately. Chen Yi lowered the oracle. Order Cain and the others to conquer the underground palace. After receiving the oracle, Cain was extremely excited. Cain, who hasn't fought for a long time, is already hungry and thirsty. And those soldiers are also in this state. After all, I have been training soldiers in the barracks, and there is no use for them, which makes everyone a little bit difficult. Now you can finally explore the ruins. Cain notified all the soldiers immediately. As for the extinction armor, Cain had no intention of using it. Now this is just a training session. Kill the chicken with a sledge knife. The 500 conquering berserkers and 500 heavy shield defenders are already on standby. Thousands of elites immediately marched toward the underground palace mightily. Headed by Cain and Black Tower. Among them, the Black Tower is the most exciting. His slayer's sword is about to rust. After arriving at the underground palace, Cain did not violently dismantle the gate as before. Instead, he found agencies around. After all, in the present, his wisdom has long been different from before. Based on the mural carvings outside the underground palace, Cain found out the mystery of the puzzle. Gently splicing several pieces of jigsaw together, the gate of the underground palace immediately rang out with the sound of organs. After a few sounds of wei, the gates of the entire underground palace were opened. A dark corner road leading to the ground appeared in front of Cain. Out of a prudent choice, Cain summoned the Viper Guard directly in the corridor. The 20 Viper Guards breathed fire, and instantly illuminated the entire corridor. As soon as the Viper Guard appeared, ghost soldiers floated out of the underground tunnel. The body of the ghost is blue, and the armor and weapons are all available. However, those equipments were transformed from soul power. Chen Yi also saw the attributes of those ghost soldiers. Ghost soldier. Level. Rare. Basic strength. 0. Basic physique. 0. Basic agility. 20. Basic wisdom. 30. Talent. Soul attack. Ghost form. Soul attack. All attacks of the ghost soldier are invalid to the body, only the soul. Ghost form. All physical attacks are invalid to ghost soldiers, and the magic damage received is increased by 100%. Skills. Soul piercing. Soul punch. The ghost soldier jumps forward, causing soul damage to enemies in the area. At the moment when these ghost soldiers appeared, 4 or 5-0, those Viper Guards spewed out flames in an instant. The flame magic attack guarded by the poisonous snake suddenly screamed and burned the ghost soldiers. Cain beckoned immediately. The heavy shield defender goes in first. After speaking, all the heavy shield defenders, wearing dragon skin and scale armor, holding keel shields and started walking towards that road. The corner road is extremely spacious, and more than 20 heavy shield defenders can be walked side by side. Those ghost soldiers were hit by the Viper Guard, and there were only a few soldiers left. And the remaining ghost soldiers were also directly beaten to death by the wind blade carried by the Tauren's ordinary attack and shattered to pieces. Those ghost soldiers left a lot of powder on the ground. Seeing these powders, Cain, as a voodoo shaman, recognized the origin of these powders. Soul dust. Only after the death of a soul that has existed for more than 50 years will there be something. Then Cain asked some Tauren to take good care of these soul dust. Whether it is alchemy or enchantment, this soul dust is an excellent material. This underground maze is obviously larger than the previous skeleton maze. At this moment, a howl came. The heavy shield defenders directly placed their shields in front of them and stood still. At this time they opened the defensive stance, and the frontal attack will be immune to 50% of the damage. The owners of those howling sounds also appeared in front of all the Tauren at this time. That is, Cain first came to the middle of the heavy shield defender. A group of three-headed dogs burning flames came in front of the Tauren. After Chen Yi saw it, he was also a little surprised. Unexpectedly, it was actually the three-headed dog of the lower demon hell. Immediately extracted the attributes of this hell three-headed dog. Hell three-headed dog. Race lower demon. Basic strength 43. Basic physique 31. Basic agility 23. Basic wisdom 10. Talent Trinity. Trinity. The three heads of the three-headed dog in the hell respectively control flame, ice, and hurricane, and their attacks are extremely powerful. No skills. The attack of the three big heads alone is already extremely powerful. Chen Yi then informed Cain of the attributes of the three-headed dog. Although the attributes of these three-headed dogs are not as good as those of the Tauren, the magic attack is real. After Cain learned of this, he directly planted a mocking totem in front of the three-headed hell dog. The taunting totem immediately attracted the three-headed dog of hell. In their eyes, these taunting totems have become the most in the world. The flame, ice, and hurricane in his mouth madly attacked the taunting totem. However, the taunting totem is extremely hard, and the attacks of these three-headed hell dogs have not been able to crush it. When the three-headed dogs began to bite the taunting totem, Cain gave an order. Suddenly hundreds of conquering berserkers began to attack those three-headed hell dogs. The magic weave battle axe in his hand was shining with dragon blood runes, directly slashing past powerful wind blades. These three-headed hell dogs had no resistance at all, and they were immediately hacked and killed. The blood of the devil of the three-headed dog of hell shed all over the ground, corroding the ground of the corridor. Upon seeing this, Cain directly ordered some heavy shield defenders to take the corpses back, and the blood of the devil should be kept. Like the soul man, this is an extremely precious enchanting material. As the team descended, the surrounding light was about to disappear. Cain ordered, "Everyone lit a torch. There is plenty of air here, even torches can't consume much." Cain's team gradually passed through the tunnel and came to a very wide hall. It is not a problem to accommodate 10,000 people in the hall. There are sarcophagi everywhere in this hall. There are countless runes carved on the sarcophagus, which looks very strange. The sarcophagus was shining with endless black energy at this time, and gradually all began to move. The shaking of the sarcophagus directly attracted the attention of all the Tauren. Cain ordered directly, "Everyone, help the things in this sarcophagus to open the lid of the coffin. You have to wait for the province to kill them." Hearing Cain's orders, all Tauren faces smiled. Obviously what Cain said was extremely appetizing to them. "Aren't you struggling to come out? I'll help you." Then, the coffin prying the coffin, the coffin prying the coffin. There was a burst of grunting sounds, and the contents of the coffin appeared in front of all the Tauren. It was a skeleton draped in skin, and the blue soul fire in the eyes gleamed. Caw, slightly. Strange syllables came from the throats of these skeletons. After Chen Yi saw it, he couldn't help being surprised. What kind of skeleton is this? It is clearly a ghoul. Ghouls and skeletons are fundamentally different. Not only is their skin connected to one's body, but the fascia in the joints has not disappeared. These fascia provide extremely powerful strength and elasticity for these ghouls. Ghoul. Level. Rare. Basic strength 52. Basic physique 11. Basic agility 13. Basic wisdom 5. Talent vigorously. Strong. The power of the ghoul is extremely powerful, and the basic power increases by 30. Skills. Sweep. Powerful swing. Sweep. The ghoul swept the surrounding enemies, causing 2000.0% attack power and knocking them down. Great swing. Cause 150% damage to enemies in a small area, can be used frequently. The skills of ghouls are already extremely precious among rare races. It can be said that ghouls are definitely the leader of rare races, infinitely close to those epic races. At this time, the Tauren people had already begun to sweep away the ghoul. As long as these Tauren don't encounter boss-level enemies, basically no enemy can be the one enemy of these Tauren. After quickly cleaning up all the ghouls, the hall began to vibrate. Boom! The whole hall began to fall. The Tauren also grabbed the surrounding sarcophagus to prevent himself from falling. Seeing the change, Cain directly summoned a healing totem to prevent the Tauren warrior from being injured by the impact after falling. Boom! With a loud noise, all the Tauren were suddenly thrown and one person turned on their backs. Some Tauren lay on the ground, blood was bleeding from the ears and the corners of the eyes. The impact is too great. But even if they were hurt, the Tauren people immediately felt a burst of soft energy repairing their bodies. This is the power of the healing totem. Healing totems can restore the injuries of the Tauren people very well. In addition, the Tauren's own vitality resilience is also extremely amazing, and within a short while, the most seriously injured Tauren is already well. Cain was looking for a way out at this time. But there are cliffs all around. There is no way out at all. At this time, a huge portal attracted the attention of all Tauren. The portal was engraved with exotic patterns, which looked very strange. These patterns seem to be confusing, and they can involuntarily raise a desire to kill. Cain came to the portal at this time. After careful measurement, it was found that the portal was about 10 meters high and 4 meters wide. After looking around carefully, Cain didn't find any organs or anything. At this time, the Black Tower came over. Foster father just smashed this door directly, not looking for an agency. Hearing Haida's words, Cain nodded. I was itchy for a while, and I forgot the easiest way. After receiving Cain's order, the Black Tower directly shouted to the conquering berserkers behind him. Everyone, they started smashing with me. After speaking, Haida Zhao picked up the Slayer's sword in his hand and slashed at the gate. The rest of the conquering berserkers also came here one after another and started smashing at the gate. Boom boom boom. Dang dang. After hearing Lingdang's mess, he directly smashed cracks outside the gate. When the crack appeared, a trace of black air ran out of the crack. Cain felt that something was wrong, and then let everyone stop. Everyone, stop. After hearing Cain's order, everyone stopped their attacks. After everyone stopped attacking, the fragments on the door began to fall off. There was a crash. The entire gate collapsed. After the door arrived, a pink light emerged from behind the door. Cain suddenly felt a little weird. Then Cain beckoned. Haida, you follow me in, and the rest are on standby. Haida nodded. Yes, foster father. Cain and Haida walked into the pink light door together. A huge pool of blood appeared in front of Cain and the Black Tower at this time. The blood pool was covered with bright red blood, and there was a pink gauze tent in the middle, and under the gauze tent was a bed. A beautiful female creature was sleeping on the bed at this time. When Cain saw this, his inner alarm bell sounded loudly. Then Cain began to pray in his heart, praying that Chen Yi could tell himself all the information of this creature. Chen Yi also received Cain's prayer. Then he began to check the attribute map of the female creature. Queen of Succubus. Race median demo. Levels, sages second to demigods. Equal level popular science. Ordinary arms, advanced arms, transferred arms, heroes, saints, demigods. Basic strength, 500. Basic physique, 600. Basic agility 1800. Basic wisdom, 2500. Talent, heart of succubus. Succubus heart. The succubus has the appearance and posture that charms all living beings. When all enemies see the front of the succubus, all attack damage caused by them is reduced by 50%. Skills. Charm all living beings, whip in pain, succubus loyal servant, pitiful. Charming all living beings. Charm all enemies whose wisdom is lower than one's own, and make them attack each other for 10 seconds. Answer of painful whip. Whip the enemy with a long whip in your hand. This attack does not distinguish between the enemy and the enemy. Enemies that are attacked will suffer twice as much pain, and allies that are attacked will increase their attack speed by 50%. And after attacking, draw 30% of the enemy's maximum vitality as self-supply. Succubus loyal servant. Consume 50% of your own vitality and summon 3 clones of yourself, which have 50% of their own attributes. The clone will cause damage to the enemy, and when returning to the succubus will restore the same amount of life force as the damage caused. When the succubus suffers lethal damage, it will consume a clone instead of dying. And the body will immediately restore 30% of its vitality. Choo Choo is pitiful. Charm an enemy, and the opponent's attack will be converted into the vitality of the succubus itself. All the vitality lost by that enemy will become the vitality of the succubus queen herself. The attributes of the succubus queen are far stronger than those of Cain. After telling Cain and Black Tower about the attributes of the succubus queen, Chen Yi couldn't help but feel a little worried. Then Chen Yi issued the oracle. Cain, don't disturb this succubus queen for the time being, go back and take the armor of the world. After Cain heard it, he nodded immediately. Yes, Father God. Cain beckoned to the Black Tower quietly. Go back. Haida nodded slightly, and the two of them then exited the pink door. Cain looked at the cliff at this time, and immediately took 2 magic weave axes to conquer the berserkers. I'm going to take the armor of the world, you are here on standby, don't alarm the creatures inside. After giving the order, Cain used the 2 magic weave axes directly as climbing tools, and climbed up there step by step with his strong agility. They fell more than 100 meters this time. None of the deaths was due to the strong body of the bullhead. Before long, Cain left here and returned to the ground. Looking at the Tauren city in the distance, Cain ran towards there quickly. The world destruction armor is now placed in the city and must be returned as soon as possible. On Haida's side, a laugh came from behind the pink door at this time. Since you are here, don't leave. Then a woman in a pink gauze walked out from behind the door. Seeing the woman, Haida suddenly grasped the Slayer's sword in his hand. Everyone is not allowed to attack, nor to look at this woman's eyes, do a good job of defense and wait for the chieftain to come back. Yes, the conquering berserkers immediately put away their battle axes and hid behind the heavy shield defenders. The heavy shield defenders have also opened the defensive posture and persevere. Any attack can be well defended at this time. The Black Tower stands at the forefront. He also felt a little pressure at this time, because the strength of this succubus queen is much higher than him. And that charm ability is simply a bug level skill for group battles. At this time, the succubus queen had already arrived in front of the Black Tower. Lips opened lightly. Look, am I beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful your mother. Strike. The Slayer's sword in Haida's hand slashed directly at the pair of succubus queens. The sword soul of the Slayer's sword immediately directed the Black Tower to attack the succubus queen's weakness. Ha ha ha, I'm not happy with my sister like this. The succubus queen smiled slightly. He immediately avoided the Slayer's sword in the hands of the Black Tower. It's really a good weapon. Just when the succubus queen wanted to attack, a loud noise came from above. Boom! The entire underground palace was opened, and the sun was shining down from above. What is that? The succubus queen suddenly felt a little surprised. Then a big metal hand grabbed the succubus queen tightly. Cain is here, controlling the world-destroying armor, directly controlled the succubus queen. Seeing this scene, all the Tauren began to cheer. The chief is mighty. Boom, boom, boom. Cain directly stepped on a ladder for all the Tauren with his feet. All the Tauren fled the underground palace. The Black Tower greets now. Everyone goes back to the city. Don't get hurt by mistake. Hearing Haida's words, all the Tauren began to run towards the city of Tauren. And the succubus queen had already displayed the succubus loyal servant at this time. The 3 clones appeared directly above the ground at this time. And the succubus queen also directly changed positions with the clone by replacing the clone. Cain's armor of world destruction had completely turned into a clone at this time. After squeezing a punch, Cain stomped on it with a big foot. The succubus queen and the clone were immediately trampled into minced meat by the world-destroying armor. The dead can't die again. Cain's ability to drive world-destroying armor has now reached the pinnacle of a demigod. The succubus queen who is just a saint is not Cain's opponent at all. Seeing that the succubus queen was killed, Cain wiped a cold sweat. I originally wanted to train soldiers, but I didn't expect it to be like this. I'm still paralyzed. Such mistakes cannot be made again in the future. At this time, the blood pool in the underground palace attracted Cain's attention. Then Cain prayed to Chen Yi. The great god of harvest, can you tell me how this blood pool should be used? Chen Yi has also identified the blood pool at this time. Devil blood pool. Level. Legend. Special effect, it can transform ordinary life into the blood pool of lower demons, which is also the best nourishment for plants. Chen Yi didn't expect that this could transform into a lower demon. However, Chen Yi would not use this blood pool so simply. After all, it's just a lower demon. Race is equivalent to a rare race. If it was a demon blood pool that was converted into a high-level demon, Chen Yi converted all these Tauren in the first place. After all, the upper demon is equivalent to the mythical race. It is almost the same as the Titan witch, Titan, and angel. Chen Yi then issued an oracle. Use all the devil's blood pool to water the tree of life on the island in the center of the lake. The tree of life will grow very quickly. After receiving Chen Yi's oracle, Cain will start watering immediately. Watering the tree of life with this world-destroying armor is the quickest way. The blood in the blood pool was poured on the tree of life. The tree of life was like a hormone that started to grow. Chen Yi just watched this day by day. The tree of life quickly broke through to the growth and maturity period. In the end, after the last qi and blood in the devil's blood pool was irrigated, the tree of life had completely replaced the ginkgo tree, and the branches and roots covered the entire island. And the original ginkgo tree has also turned into soil and nourishment. At this time, the tree of life is hundreds of meters high, with luxuriant branches covering the sky in the center of the lake. The trunk reached the point where only a dozen people could hold it. The special effects of the tree of life to improve the soil and improve the air have already begun to take effect at this time. The small island in the center of the lake has been completely jade-like at this time and has become an elemental spiritual soil. And the air in the entire plain of harvest is being improved by the tree of life. The lifespan of all lives living in this kind of air has been greatly increased. Whether it is animals, insects or Tauren, lifespan has all increased. And every day you breathe, it increases a little. Of course, there is a limit to the lifespan, and the effect is obvious at the beginning, but it is useless in the end. The wind of life is increasing the element concentration of the entire plain. It has been increased from 21% of the original ginkgo tree to 100%. Under this circumstance, Cain, a mage profession, can advance very quickly through his own efforts. Without Chen Yi's divine power irrigation, he can also become an advanced profession after the voodoo shaman. Moreover, the self-advanced professions are much stronger than the supernatural powers. On the tree of life, a lot of flowers of life have already grown at this time, attracting a lot of insects such as butterflies and bees. Especially for collecting nectar and spreading pollen. After the flower of life fell off, it began to bear the fruit of life. The life fairy Chen Yi of the fruit of life is very eager. After all, it can provide a lot of life recovery speed for the Tauren. At this time, Chen Yi clicked on the plane interface in the God interface. God's domain, the plane of harvest. Area 10,000 square kilometers. Climate temperate tropical. Topography plains 30%, mountains 30%, woodlands 5%, depressions 2%, lakes 13%, rivers 8%, karst caves 1%, basins 10%. Soil 25% of black soil, 50% of brown soil, 5% of saline soil, 10% of alpine soil, and 10% of lithological soil. Animals 23 species of invertebrates, 134 species of vertebrates, 67 species of fish, 88 species of cartilage, 49 species of bones, 19 species of amphibians, 76 species of reptiles, 69 species of birds. There are 35 species of mammals, 198 species of protozoa, 122 species of mollusks, and 297 species of arthropods. Plants 89 species of gymnosperms, 67 species of angiosperms, 78 species of ferns, 32 species of algae, 77 species of bryophytes, and 147 species of fungi. Minerals iron ore, copper ore, silver ore, coal, rock ore, tungsten ore, gold ore, lead ore, zinc ore, aluminum ore, titanium ore. Special resource Sunspar mine. Special building none. Special plants. Tree of life. Element concentration 100%. Introduction. The plain where plains and lakes coexist can develop planting, animal husbandry, fishery, and mining, and has a perfect ecological chain. It is in the temperate tropics and is suitable for planting crops all year round. With the plain of the tree of life, survival here will greatly increase the lifespan. A paradise for the mage profession. Chen Yi is very satisfied. Now the plain of harvest has become a complete magic plain. Of course, a tree of life can make the element concentration of the harvest plain reach 100%, and there are also reasons why the harvest plain is too small. Only 10,000 square kilometers. This is equivalent to the area of a city. It's already very small. It takes 15 years for the tree of life to bloom until the melons are ripe. In the main plain for only half a year, Chen Yi can still afford it. Forget the time. Today is the day that Bai Zhu agreed. From the hotel, Chen Yi went straight to the temples of the Dragon City. At this time, before Na Bai Zhu and his companions arrived, Chen Yi leaned on the wall outside the door. Seeing the gods coming and going in the temples, Chen Yi was a little surprised. At this moment, a voice sounded. Chen Yi, you arrived so early. Chen Yi looked up and found that it was Bai Zhu. There are two companions beside Bai Zhu. One is a boy with a flat head and a little honesty, and the other is a boy with a fat face and glasses. Bai Zhu introduced to Chen Yi at this time. The guy with the flat head was named Kui Zaihu, and the man with glasses was named Mao Yichao. Kui Zaihu's priesthood is the god of animal husbandry, while Mao Yichao's priesthood is the god of fisheries. They are all auxiliary priests, and they have all reached the lower gods. This auxiliary priesthood can quickly develop the race in the early stage. Similar to Chen Yi, the god of harvest. However, Chen Yi's harvest god is more comprehensive, and they are specializing in one line, and they all have their own advantages. Chen Yi also stretched out his hand at this time. It's nice to meet you. My name is Chen Yi. The priesthood is the god of harvest. After the brief introduction, several people began to get acquainted with each other. Bai Zhu said at this time, well, let's go in now. The four came to the ticket hall together. At this time, Bai Zhu said to the ticket salesperson, here are 4 tickets to Luo's face. Then Bai Zhu took out a 40,000 denomination card. Chen Yi saw that Kui Zaihu and Mao Yichao looked as usual, so he didn't say anything. I would like to find a chance to give this white my best wishes. Bai Zhu took the votes and divided them among the 3. Next, the Ada family is free to move around for 3 months, and then meet again near the Temple of the Sun on the Rorschach Plain. Remember not to be late. Okay. Bai Zhu's plan was for several people to look for resources in the first 3 months, and then go to the Sun Temple to converge to obtain the sunflower. This plane of Rorschach has the existence of the sun god, and the sunflower is his private plant. The sun god likes this sunflower very much, so he will kill anyone who tries to steal it. However, this sun god is only the existence of a lower god. Although the priesthood of several people is not a priest in combat, the combination of the 4 lower gods is definitely not comparable to this sun god. On the other hand, everyone can take this opportunity to obtain resources and races that are not normally available. On all the planes connected by the temples, the empire does not allow the gods to develop believers. Can only obtain various resources or races. You can put that race into your own plane, but you can't develop in the plane of the temples. In addition, it cannot destroy the plane, otherwise, it will be sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment in accordance with the crime of damaging public property. This is mainly for the development of other deities. Otherwise, you have developed believers, or the planes have been destroyed by you. How can the other deities develop and live? The meaning of the temples no longer exists. Chen Yi and several people then came to that plane channel. After the ticket was handed in, the surrounding scenes of several people appeared outside the crystal wall of that plane. There is an automatic ticket machine and a teleportation point outside the crystal wall of the plane. If you want to leave at that time, you can directly pay here. After all, there are too few deities coming to this plane, and it is not worthwhile for the temples to set up manual ticket sales points here. This teleportation point had all the information about the Rorschach continent, and Chen Yi also began to look through it. At this time, Bai Zhu had already passed by in advance. For this Rorschach plane, they had already read the information ahead of time. Chen Yi said that he had to read it before going over. Regarding Chen Yi's decision, Bai Zhu did not say anything. After all, it won't take much time to finish reading these materials. Chen Yi also began to understand everything about this Rorschach plane. This Rorschach plane was originally a world created by an ancient god of creation, and that creation god died after creating this world. It can also be said that the strength is not enough to forcefully create the world. Eventually the energy was exhausted, and his body was integrated into this plane and became a part of the world. And the world also gave birth to many innate gods, and finally divided into 2 major factions. One is a god system headed by the god of light, and the other is a god system headed by the god of darkness. The two gods finally battled. The two gods in the decisive battle broke out a war that lasted for more than 1,000 years. In this, countless gods died. In the end, the war ended with the death of the god of light and the god of darkness. The surviving gods are not a climate. Most of them are tired of the war. Some gather together and build various temples. Some are to establish sects and accept the worship of the intelligent races on this Rorschach plane. The sun god was a general under the Guangming god. After the Guangming god died, he established his belief in a place called the Barbarian Empire. Now the forces on this Rorschach continent are divided into 4. One is an empire headed by humans, and its name is the Yaoguang Empire. One is a tribe headed by orcs, called the Savage Blood Tribe. There is also a force headed by elves, living in a place called Twilight Jungle. The last one is somewhat frightening. It is a country of undead. The kingdom of the undead was once a prosperous human empire named Bantes. A lot of sensational things happened in this country. Necromancers wreaked havoc and confused the king. Eventually the entire kingdom was converted into a kingdom of the dead. And the king of Bantes was also converted into the terrifying king of bones. Looking at the 4 forces, Chen Yi decided to go to the most gracious Yaoguang Empire. After all, it is a country composed of mankind. Before the main plane mutated, these humans were just ordinary humans. After the mutation, all of them were converted into deities. Chen Yi broke through the crystal wall of the plane and directly flew to Vern, the capital of the Emperor Yaoguang, according to the map. Vern is the most prosperous city on this plane. Chen Yi chose to come here to see if there are any rare resources. After all, this big city is born with the ability to siphon. It can attract the best talents, the most beautiful beauties, and the most precious things here. It's not wrong to choose this place. The walls of the royal city of the Yaoguang Empire are made of white rock, all white, and they look extremely clean. The entire royal city covers an area of about 100 square kilometers, which is a large city that can accommodate tens of millions of people. There are a total of 8 gates, and people are everywhere. Chen Yi looked at this scene and felt that this royal city was indeed the most prosperous place on the Rorschach plane. Then Chen Yi descended in a hidden corner and used his divine power to disguise himself as an ordinary human. He wants to enter the city to see if there are any good things in this royal city. Mixing in the crowd, Chen Yi directly followed into the east gate of the royal city. When he was in the air before, Chen Yi found that the east gate was far more prosperous than the other gates, and the flow of people was 4 or 5 times that of the other gates. It is a peaceful age. Except for the need to beware of the necromancer from the undead kingdom coming over, the rest of the identity check basically does not exist. Chen Yi has already taken out -1 divine coin at this time. This is the change that Chen Yi exchanged before. A total of 10 to 0 coins were exchanged. With 2 thumbs down on this sacred coin, there was an extremely mysterious aura in the whole body, which was the aura of a god. For these plane races, it is an extremely rare treasure. If enough divine coins are obtained, those high-level professionals can even see the path to becoming a divine. Therefore, when many gods go to other planes, they will choose to exchange their god coins for resources in those planes. Coming to the largest plaza in Dongmen, there are many shops and stalls here. After taking out the magic coin, Chen Yi shouted directly in the crowd. The treasures obtained from the ancient ruins are the treasures that can make the professionals get a breakthrough. Chen Yi's shout was loud, and a trace of his own power was mixed in the shout. Suddenly attracted a lot of onlookers. The mysterious aura of the divine power in Chen Yi's hand also made the rest of the people feel a kind of coercion. This is an existence that transcends the essence of the world. But most of these people are ordinary people. Even if there are professionals, they just build a trace of energy in the body. This is just so much better than ordinary people. The lowest level professionals are not even as strong as the newly transferred units. However, Chen Yi was not discouraged, but continued to sell there. As the royal city of the Yaoguang Empire, there are people from all over the world here. At this time, a handsome male elf with pointed ears squeezed into the crowd. He is a wandering businessman from the Twilight Jungle. The purpose of coming to the king city of the Glory Empire is the same as Chen Yi. That is to look for cherished resources, and use gold coins or what you own to buy it. Bartering is an extremely important trading method on the Rorschach plane. After all, many things are not priced. This is a transaction method that can make both parties extremely satisfied. At this moment the elf came to Chen Yi's front. "Dear human merchant, Luca from the Twilight Jungle hopes to trade with you." Chen Yi saw someone coming, and immediately checked Luca's body. It was discovered that Luca's body was full of low-level magic power. According to the strength, this Luca was also an advanced unit. "It seems really attracted," Chen Yi said at this moment. "I don't want gold coins, what can you exchange for?" Hearing Chen Yi's words, Luca looked at the magic coin in Chen Yi's hand a little eagerly. "Before this, can you let me take a look at this thing first?" Chen Yi nodded, and threw the magic coin to Luca. Luca hurriedly caught the god coin. It would be too violent to throw such treasures directly. Then Luca took out a magnifying glass and carefully studied the pattern inscription on the god coin. But the patterns of the god coins are all made of rules, and Luca gets dizzy after watching it for a while. He really couldn't understand the lines on it. But it also reflects the preciousness of this thing from the side. Holding the divine coin, Luca felt that the magic in his body began to become active, which was simply stronger than the elemental heart that was abundant in that elemental land. With that mysterious aura, Luca was a little unsure of the value of this sacred coin. This is said to be excavated from ancient relics, so it also reflects the scarcity of this thing. Luca asked cautiously at this moment, "I don't know what you want to exchange for." Chen Yi saw this Luca's desire for magic coins. "In that case, don't blame me for killing you. Is there any precious plants or minerals? I want them all." Hearing this, Luca nodded. "There are still some treasures in my caravan. Please move." Chen Yi heard Luca say this and immediately agreed. It's easy to talk. Then he followed Luca to his caravan. The surrounding crowd also began to follow along. It is human nature to watch the excitement. They all want to see what good things can be exchanged for this magic coin. The crowd decisively followed Luca and Chen Yi to the caravan. All the goods of this caravan were placed in a small alley, and there were 6 horses and a small stall outside the alley. Some elves are looking after the stalls, and some people are picking and choosing there. But a large group of people from Na Wuju came over and immediately scared those people to their feet. "I thought I had some enemies here." Luca had already invited Chen Yi to the small alley at this time. "You can watch and choose whatever you want. These things are the specialty of the Twilight Jungle." Chen Yi shook his head. "If you need these specialties, don't you just go to the Twilight Jungle to do it casually?" "I don't want special products, I just cherish resources." Luca saw Chen Yi's dislike, and then brought a small box. After opening the box, 6 huge seeds were placed on it. The seed had blood-colored lines on its surface, and it looked like a crying human face. The seeds of the giant piranha are definitely a good thing that you can't get in the Twilight Jungle. Chen Yi only raised interest. The seeds of the giant piranha. Then I identified it. Giant piranha. Level. Rare. Special effects. Swallow. Swallowing will swallow all the lives close to it, extremely cruel. Introduction: the giant piranha grows up to about 10 meters tall and is a rare killer plant in the Twilight Jungle. Chen Yi was a little surprised after seeing it. Unexpectedly, 1 divine coin would exchange these 6 giant piranha seeds. If this is put on the main plane to sell, then it will cost 10,000 god coins. No wonder so many gods are willing to come to the temples. The welfare of the empire is indeed well deserved. Okay, I changed it. Chen Yi readily agreed and took over the giant piranha seed. Luca was a little happy after seeing it. Okay, refreshing. After that, he carefully placed the god coin in his inner pocket of his clothes. This is an extremely precious antique. And the effect is super good. At this moment, a passage was pulled out of the crowd. The soldiers walked in with a young girl. The girl was wearing a white armor that was mixed with leather, silk and metal, and she rolled up her long hair. She looked very capable. As the merchant who sold ancient relics here. Seeing the girl, the crowd around was exclaimed. "It's Gwyneth the Dragon Hunter." What? After hearing this name, some people were suddenly surprised. The people around also told about the legendary experience of this girl. It is said that Gwyneth is the adopted daughter of the royal garrison commander Hendrik, who has grown up in the palace since she was a child. Together with the princesses, they received noble education. But Gwyneth has been particularly fascinated by archery since she was a child. The rest of the princesses learn horsemanship for entertainment, but this Gwyneth really likes it. And Gwyneth was born with supernatural power, able to pull a huge length that 10 people can pull together. No one knew how powerful this Gwyneth was. One time when the king was hunting, he encountered a poisonous flying dragon. As a subdragon species, this flying dragon has great natural power, and it can also spray venom to kill people. At this time everyone was helpless, and the soldiers were killed and wounded countless. And Gwyneth pulled off the giant longbow, and a long arrow shot out, directly killing the poisonous 457 flying dragon on the spot. Since then, the title of Dragon Hunter has followed Gwyneth. Some outsiders who didn't know, heard this legendary experience at this time, they also showed their longing for this legendary experience. I really didn't expect this girl's legend to be so wonderful. At this time the girl had already arrived in front of Chen Yi and them. Chen Yi looked at the girl, not knowing what she wanted to do. As for the title of the Dragon Hunter, Chen Yi is very interested. Then Chen Yi extracted the attributes of the girl. Dragon Hunter Gwyneth. Race Dragon. Level. Hero under the Saint. Basic Strength. 2200. Basic Physique. 900. Basic Agility. 400. Basic Wisdom. 50. Talent. Natural Supernatural Power. Innate Divine Power. Your basic power will increase with time and your realm. Skills: Glare Arrow, Flame Arrow, Thunder Arrow, Ice Arrow, Concentration and Concentration. Dazzling Arrow. Shoot a giant light arrow into the sky. After a short pause, it will split into 100 small light arrows in the sky and scatter on the ground. Flame Arrow. After blessing, normal attacks will have fire attribute attacks, and have explosion and burning effects, which will increase the damage of the ignited enemy by 50%. The duration is 60 seconds. Thunder Arrow. After blessing, ordinary attacks will have thunder attribute attacks, and have the effects of paralysis and electric shock, which will increase damage by 50% to electric enemies. Ice Arrow. After blessing, ordinary attacks will have ice attribute attacks, and have freezing and slowing effects. The damage to slowed enemies will increase by 50%. Concentration Dingqi. Concentration Dingqi. Aiming at the enemy, standing still on the spot will stack a layer of concentration Dingqi buff every minute, up to 10 layers. Buff. Increases attack power by 10%, attack speed by 10%, and hit rate by 10%. Equipment. Strike Giant. Strike Giant. Equal Order. Magical Sacred Artifact. Special Effect. Increase normal attack power by 100%. Chen Yi did not expect that Gwyneth was actually an epic race of dragon people. No wonder he was born with supernatural power. This plane is really interesting. There are dragons. And that skill, coupled with the powerful hitting giant bow equipment, simply turned this Gwyneth into a turret. That's fierce. That Gwyneth looked at Chen Yi and Luca. Did you sell ancient relics just now? Chen Yi took a step forward at this time. I'm selling. I don't know what's wrong. Na Gwyneth looked at Chen Yi, and then asked the soldiers to carry a large box from behind. After opening, the box was full of gems, gold coins and precious artworks. I'm going to buy this ancient artifact. I don't know if there is any more. Chen Yi looked at the treasures without any waves in his heart. These treasures are rubbish to him, only rare and even upward things like giant piranhas are what he wants. Chen Yi shook his head. No, none of your things are good. Are there any more? Similar to this. Chen Yi then opened the box to Gwyneth, and gave Gwyneth a look at the giant piranha seeds in the box. After Gwyneth saw it, her eyes suddenly brightened. Do you mean that as long as you have this type of seed, you can exchange ancient relics from your hands? Chen Yi nodded. Of course, I like this bite. Gwyneth nodded. Okay, in that case, don't leave. Live at the embassy. My friend will be back from the Viper Marsh in a few days. You must like the plants you brought. Hearing this, Gwyneth said. Chen Yi became interested. Where is this Viper Marsh? Before Gwyneth could speak, Luca behind Chen Yi answered at this moment. This Viper Marsh is a wild land located in the west. It does not belong to any party. There are many monsters and primitive savages in it. And how many rare resources are there, we don't know. This lady's friend must be very strong to be able to venture there. Chen Yi nodded after hearing it. Well, in that case, I'll just wait for you. As for the embassy, I won't go. I will continue to find others to sell my ancient relics. After speaking, Chen Yi took out another magic coin. Ancient relics, buy them and go home. It is absolutely guaranteed that your cultivation speed will increase tenfold. And when Gwyneth saw the magic coin in Chen Yi's hand, she immediately showed a look of desperate desire. The breath on the god coin was exactly what she needed. She needs this thing too much to break through her current realm. Chen Yi saw the desire of this Gwyneth, and then said, I will stay here these days. If your friend hasn't arrived after 3 days, I will leave. Gwyneth was a little worried when she heard Chen Yi's words. Can you give me a few more days of grace? Since I said it, there must be. Chen Yi looked at Gwyneth and nodded. Okay, in that case, I will stay in this royal city for 5 days. Gwyneth breathed a sigh of relief, but seemed to be nervous again after thinking of something. How many such ancient relics are still in your hands? Don't sell them out these days. Chen Yi laughed. I didn't expect this little girl to be quite funny. Well, of course not, don't care how many of these things I have, keep one for you. Gwyneth nodded. In that case, thank you so much. I will write to my friend now. After speaking, Gwyneth left here with the royal guard. And Chen Yi started selling in the square again. Ancient relics, as long as you cherish resources or exchange for things I haven't seen. First come, first serve. After Gwyneth left, she flew to her house quickly. Picked up a quill pen and wrote a letter. Dear Ren and Fuchs, I am in urgent need of some rare plant seeds or other rare items. I hope you two can return to the city as soon as possible. Gwyneth offers it. Then a pigeon landed on Gwyneth's shoulder. This is a specially trained pigeon that can deliver the letter to those two people with great accuracy. Gwyneth then tied the letter to the pigeon's leg. Go ahead, and give this letter to Ren and Fuchs. The pigeon seemed to understand Gwyneth's words, coo, twice, and flew out of the window directly. As if able to know all directions, the pigeon flew directly to the southwest of the sky. Viper Moor. A man and a woman are leaning back to back at this time. And there are some savages exuding a strong and savage atmosphere, wearing flower feathers on their heads and animal skins around their waists, looking at the two men eagerly. The man is wearing a black trench coat and a cyan hood. The black mask covers his face tightly so that it is not clear. He was carrying a coffin behind him, holding a silver crossbow in his right hand, and the skin color of his left hand was an ominous cyan. Fuchs, the man called the mourner. The enemies he killed will be sent into the coffin he prepared. The woman had a single pink ponytail on her head, dark skin, and a scar on her face from her neck to the top of her head. Holding the latest pistol developed by Dwarf in both hands, it looks full of firepower. Ren, a woman with an extremely strong personality. As an experienced bounty hunter, she likes to sieve the enemy with a musket in her hand. At this time, the pistol sounded, Ren took the lead to attack, and the mourner Fuchs followed closely. A silver arrow shot directly at the leading savage. The savages also madly attacked the two with their spears. The war is about to start. After the sky of arrows and bullets passed, the entire battlefield was left with corpses all over the floor at this time. Ren took a look at the corpses of these savages, and then said, Fuchs, the potion to relieve the curse of your left hand is the last kind of plant corpse in the savage tribe. Fuchs was also full of excitement. Today finally gathered all the materials. Then the two crossed the jungle and came to the tribe where the savages had survived. At this time, there were only old people, children and women left in that savage tribe. The fighting power of this tribe had already been wiped out by Ren and Fuchs just now. In the middle of the savage tribe, a very strange-looking flower appeared in front of the two of them. The flowers are covered with wood thorns, and the whole body is bluish-red. Each petal of this flower is carved with a completely different pattern. Some are humans and some are beasts. It represents the nutrition of someone you have absorbed. And there are many human skeletons around, and some clothes are scattered around. Obviously these are adventurers who are used as food by these wild men. At this moment, a pigeon appeared in front of the two of them, and both of them recognized the identity of the pigeon at this time. Fuchs was a little curious at this moment. How could Gwyneth's pigeons come here? Ren had already reached out and put the pigeon in his hand, took the letter from the pigeon's leg, and then released the pigeon. There should be something urgent for Gwyneth. First look at what the letter says. Well, that's fine. Then the two looked at it and saw Gwyneth's troubles. They laughed. Ren said at this time, "It just so happens that we found a lot of precious plants in this viper marsh, and then we can take some of the seeds of this corpse demon flower." Fuchs said at this time, "Yes, it happens to be going to the King City to find a master alchemist to refine the medicine. Let's go back now." "Good. The King City of the Glory Empire. Chen Yi has been selling here for 5 days. But since getting the giant piranha seeds that time, there are not many things Chen Yi can see. Not some ordinary plants, or some gold and silver treasures. Chen Yi didn't like it, so this transaction has been stagnating. Forget the days, today should be the day Gwyneth came, so Chen Yi found a lounge chair and sat comfortably in the square basking in the sun. Finally, Gwyneth walked out of the crowd with 2 people. In Chen Yi's eyes, those 2 people also have a special kind of energy in their bodies. It looks the same as this Gwyneth. Chen Yi then extracted the attributes of the 2. I want to see who these 2 people are. Focus: the murderer. Race: human. Level: hero under the saint. Basic strength: 200. Basic physique: 600. Basic agility: 1400. Basic wisdom: 1000. Talent: hand of necromancer. Hand of the necromancer. I was tortured by the cursed left hand day and night, but as time went on, Fuchs learned to use the power of the curse in this way. The speed of stealing the enemy depends on the enemy's level. Skills: Pure Sky, Demon Claw, Silver Arrow, Dark Coffin. Pure Sky: dispel all abnormal states of allies, and reduce the damage taken by allies by 20% within 10 seconds. Magic Claw: use the hands of the undead, and steal the enemy's attack power and defense. The degree depends on the enemy's level. Silver Arrow: the damage of normal attacks is increased by 20%, and the damage of already injured enemies is increased by 40%. Dark Coffin: forcibly seal a living enemy in his coffin for 10 seconds. Equipment: Silver Crossbow. Silver Crossbow. Level: enchanting equipment. Special effect: increase the damage to the undead by 150%. L. Chen Yi looked at this Fergus attribute and felt that it was indeed very strong among humans. Then Chen Yi looked at the woman with the pink ponytail. Bounty Hunter Ren. Race: human. Level: hero under the saint. Basic strength: 1000. Basic physique: 800. Basic agility: 1200. Basic wisdom: 500. Talent: insight. Insight: Ren is born to have insight into the direction of the enemy, which will greatly promote her to become a bounty hunter in the future. Skill: Barrage Moment, heavy reward, discovery of prey, reward order. Barrage Moment: double guns are fired quickly, the bullets in the gun are tilted out quickly, and the enemy will bleed and slow down. The weaker the enemy, the higher the damage from the bullet. Heavy money reward: for the enemy whose remaining vitality is lower, Ren's attack will be stronger. Discovery Prey: mark a weak enemy for 1 hour, during which all activity tracks will appear in Ren's mind. Reward Order: mark an enemy for 1 minute and set it as a reward target, during which all damages to it will be doubled. It's really good. This Rorschach plane really has many strong people. It was a grand occasion that hadn't been seen before in the plane of Stigmata. And that Gwyn brought the 2 people to Chen Yi's front. "Boss, I brought things today." Afterwards, Gwyneth took a Nanmu box and opened the Nanmu box to reveal the seeds in it. There are 3 in total, which are all the seeds produced by the corpse demon flower. The skin of the seed of the corpse demon flower is off-white, and it looks like a stone if you don't know it. Chen Yi also took the seed of the corpse demon flower in his hand. The message of the corpse demon flower seed also appeared in front of Chen Yi at this time. Devil Flower. Level: epic. Stage: seed. Special effect: it will absorb the vitality of all creatures in a radius of 100 meters and convert it into its own nutrients, unlocked during maturity. Special effect: after the fruit of the corpse demon flower matures, you will randomly get one of the 4 fruits of Fruit of Strength, Fruit of Physique, Fruit of Agility, and Fruit of Wisdom. Unlocked at the peak period. Fruit of Strength. After eating, strength increases randomly by 50 to 500 points. Fruit of Constitution. After eating, the physique increases by 50 to 500 points randomly. Fruit of Agility. Agility increases randomly by 50 to 500 points after eating. Fruit of Wisdom. Wisdom increases by 50 to 500 points randomly after eating. At the beginning, the Huang Yilong wild boar chief had eaten the fruit of power, so he had reached the level of fighting against the Tauren at the beginning. Chen Yi didn't expect these fruits to be grown from the corpse demon flower. It's really rewarding. This kind of money, earned it. Then Chen Yi nodded. Yes, I want this kind of one, and I will bring you something. Chen Yi immediately took out the god coin and handed it to Gwyneth. Gwyneth was very excited when she saw it. Thank you. Then he carefully put the divine coin in his pocket. She can raise her realm through this magical ancient relic and reach the realm of holy. Of course, this divine coin is just a medium, and she has already had breakthrough capital herself, but she has not found a way. This thing is specifically for her to lead the way. Rainforth and both saw the extraordinariness of the magic coin, and then asked Chen Yi, I don't know if you still have this kind of thing here. Chen Yi nodded. Yes, of course, but what can you exchange for? Hearing this, Ren and Fuchs glanced at each other, and then said, Can a piece of news work? Chen Yi was a little curious when he heard this sentence. What news? Na Ren looked at the people around him. It's not suitable to say here, go to Gwyneth's house. Chen Yi nodded. Good. Gwyneth nodded. Okay, then go to my house. After speaking, Gwyneth took the three to her house. This is because Gwyneth was good at saving the king. A luxurious mansion was rewarded by the king. When she came to the meeting room, Gwyneth dismissed all the servants, and then Ren said the news. At this time, Ren asked Chen Yi, You have been exploring ancient ruins all year round. Have you ever heard of the Ring of Majesty? Chen Yi thought about the information about the Plain of Rorschach. There was no information about the Ring of Majesty. So Chen Yi shook his head. No, I don't know what this majestic ring is. Gwyneth also looked curious. What is this Ring of Majesty? Ren smiled mysteriously. After the god of light and the god of darkness died together, the ring of sacred instrument and majesty worn on the finger was acquired by the human king Tone. Because Nadon has been converted into an undead, this ring of majesty can no longer be used, and this ring of majesty, which belongs to the light, has been sealed somewhere by him. I have received reliable information. I know where the ring of majesty is sealed. I don't know if you are interested in it. That Gwyneth shook her head. You know me, I am interested in bows and arrows. If the artifact is a bow and arrow, I might still be a little interested. Chen Yi nodded. I'm very interested, but I don't know if your news is accurate. Na Ren said immediately. This news is absolutely accurate, don't question my intelligence capabilities. Chen Yi heard it, and then said, Okay, then in that case, let's go to the place you said to explore. If it is true, then I will give you each one an ancient relic. If it is false, I hope you will bear the consequences. After speaking, Chen Yi let go of his spirit aura, revealing a power that belongs to the infinite proximity of the saint. The moment this kind of power appeared, the three of them were oppressed and blushed and could not breathe. Chen Yi then regained his strength. Feeling this kind of power, the three Ren were shocked. Because this power feels too powerful. This is definitely a power level belonging to the Holy Realm, even a bit higher than the Holy Realm. No wonder this person dared to explore the ancient ruins everywhere, the original strength is so powerful. Then Na Ren said, If the news is wrong, I will give you all the wealth I have accumulated in the past half of my life. Chen Yi nodded in satisfaction. He couldn't want this wealth of Ren. It mainly depends on Ren's attitude. As sure as he is, I'm afraid the news is true. When will you leave? Now. After Ryan finished speaking, he got up and stood up. But before that, we have to lift the curse of Furcus first. Hearing Ren's words like this, Chen Yi only noticed Furcus' left hand. In that left hand, there is an extremely pure dark corrosive force. But it was a pity to think that part of the skills of Fuchs were released by this left hand. Then Chen Yi waved his magical power, instantly restoring Nafkos's left hand to its original appearance. And that power was perfectly preserved. Furcus was shocked. This is. Afterwards, Fu Ma Li Jiao tried to use the magic claws, and found that the power was the same as before. And the pain was so severe all day long, the pain in the left hand that needed to be suppressed with will has disappeared. I don't hurt anymore, I actually don't hurt anymore. After speaking, Nafos immediately knelt down for Chen Yi. Thank you so much for celebrating. Chen Yi shook his head, saying that it didn't matter. After all the supernatural power consumed, a few breaths came back. Don't thank me, just treat it as your reward for telling me this news. Ren was also extremely happy. Furcus was in pain all day, and she was watching it. As Fuchs's best friend, she is always thinking about how to relieve her friend's pain. Ren said at this time, well, in that case, I'll go to sort out my things, and let's go. Gwyneth also sent her blessings at this time. I wish you every success. Bantes. This city-state, once the most prosperous city of humanity, has now become a dead place. Everywhere was enveloped by the breath of undead, and the sun in the sky couldn't shine through. Tone, the king of bones, is like he was alive, still ruling all the undead at this time. On the dead and secluded streets of the abandoned city, the undead are wandering back and forth here, guarding their former homes. Looking at the dilapidated Bantes, the three of Chenyi have already arrived here. According to Ren's intelligence, the ring of majesty of the body of Guangming was hidden in the undead Black Tower in the city of Bantes at this time. To reach the undead Black Tower, you must pass through most of the city of Bantes. If it alarmed the King of Bones, Tone, it would be terrific. In Renfox's view, Tone, the King of Bones, was a demigod figure with extremely powerful strength. Only with the three of them, there is no way to kill it. On the contrary, it is very likely to be defeated, and then converted into undead, who will live forever and be enslaved by the King of Bones. Chenyi also had no idea of killing the King of Bones. After all, this King of Bones is an extremely important person and cannot interfere with the progress of the plane. So Ren thought of some good ways. That is to buy 3 shadow cloaks and undead powder. Together, the two can evade the perception of living people by those middle and low-level undead. And that high-level undead had human-like wisdom, and would not wander the streets at all. The three put on cloaks and sprinkled undead powder on them, and then walked on the streets of Bantes. The undead had no reaction after seeing the three. In the eyes of these undead, these three people are undead like them. At this time, Ren shook his hand and said with the musket, these undead were all human beings like us before, and it is really pitiful to be like this now. Navicos nodded. Whoever says no, it doesn't matter if Tone himself becomes an undead, he has to drag everyone to become an undead with him. Chenyi listened to the conversation between the two and did not interrupt. This kind of thing is similar to the Qin Shi mentioned in the previous textbook. That is the history before Blue Star. Then Qin Shi was ready to bury the living in order to be able to conquer the underworld after his death. Finally, because of the suggestion of a certain minister, he chose to cast the terracotta warriors and horses. This Tuoin is probably the kind of person who desires power. That's why I won't let my people die. Pull in your own people and transform into undead with yourself. The undead Black Tower of Nobantus was far away from them, but the sound of fighting in the distance attracted the attention of the three. Ren's face sank at this time. The news made that guy sell it to someone else again. After I go back, I don't want to kill that guy. The guy Ren said was an intelligence businessman. Specialize in selling all kinds of information. And the information here was bought by Ren for 100,000 gold coins. There has never been an information leak before, so Ren feel relieved. But now there are other forces appearing in Bantes, this is definitely the news that has leaked. Chenyi said at this time, don't panic, maybe just broke in by mistake. Let's go and take a look now. After speaking, Chenyi himself took the lead to walk towards the sound of fighting. The surrounding low-level undead had also been attracted and began to move in the direction of the fight. As it deepened, the sound of fighting got closer and closer. Gradually, a man and 2 little girls appeared in front of the 3 of them. The man was sitting on a carriage with a little girl waiting by his side. The other little girl is holding a double fly against a high-level undead creature holding a sickle. The man and the 2 little girls also exude an undead aura around their bodies, and they seem to be high-level undeads. Under the influence of this breath, the low-level undead around did not dare to step forward. That man is Wei Tan. Ryan recognized the man sitting in the carriage at a glance. Hearing what Lei Ada said, Chenyi was a little curious. Who is this Wei Tan? When Chenyi asked, Ren gritted his teeth. One of the most cruel murderers, the Empire is looking for him, the bounty is full of millions, I didn't expect to meet him here. Navicos added at this time. My lord, you may not have heard of it. Wyden was originally an earl of the empire, but I don't know where I found some books on undead spells. Therefore, some beggars and homeless people in the royal city began to mysteriously disappear gradually, and those who disappeared were used by this person to perform blood sacrifice rituals. This blood sacrifice ritual is a shortcut that can transform a living person into an undead creature, and the transformed body of the undead is far more powerful than the transformation of these dead people. After Earl Wyden completed the blood sacrifice ceremony, he converted the pair of sisters he adopted into undead creatures. Since then, not many people have seen this person again. In the end, the Empire found out that Earl Wyden did it, and began to want him all over the continent. The two little girls are probably the two sisters he adopted. The younger sister is said to be born with magical psychic abilities. I don't know if it will become stronger after being transformed into an undead. After listening to this fox's words, Chen Yi didn't expect that there would be such a thing. Then the attributes of Neveden were tuned out. Vampire Earl Wyden. Levels: Sage. Race: Vampire. Basic Strength: 350. Basic Physique: 700. Basic Agility: 1300. Basic Wisdom: 950. Talent: Incarnation of Blood. Blood incarnation. After being converted to an undead creature, it gains the ability to convert blood. It can convert the body into a blood-bad group formed by blood at will, and the damage received during the period is reduced by 90%. Skills: Dark Knight Incarnation, Vampire Fang, Blood Boiling, Vampire Sword Skill. Dark Knight Incarnation. After being converted into a group of blood bats, moving among the enemies will continuously absorb the enemy's blood and convert it into its own vitality. Vampire Tooth. If you bite the vampire tooth on the enemy's body, it will immediately restore 50% of its vitality and continuously lose its vitality. Blood Boiling. Evaporate the blood in your body. For every 10% evaporated, you will gain 20% attack speed and 30% attack power bonus. Vampire Sword Skill. A very strange sword skill that can stab the enemy in any direction and at any time, making it inevitable. Equipment: Vampire Sword. Vampire Sword. Equal Order. Magical Sacred Artifact. Special effect: every time you absorb blood, the attack power of the vampire sword will increase by 10%. Chapter 101. The attributes of this Earl of Vampire seem to be biased towards offensive, and the endurance is extremely strong. Although the attributes do not seem very strong. But the powerhouse of the Saint level shows that Wei Tan has extremely strong fighting ability. The old god Na Wei Tan was sitting on the carriage and looking at the battlefield, with no worries at all. In that battlefield, the undead girl holding the double death continuously attacked the undead creature holding the sickle. The undead girl is extremely fast. The two dead spirits and 7 heads continuously caused wounds, but the sickle dead spirits had nothing to do. After Chen Yi saw it, he couldn't help but develop some interest. Then extracted the attributes of the undead girl. Sylvina the Pale Executioner. Race: Undead. Level: Hero. Basic Strength: 200. Basic Physique: 400. Basic Agility: 1200. Basic Wisdom: 150. Talent: Nether Step. Nether Steps. Innate Combat Movement Mode. Facing the enemy in the battle will get 50% evasion. Skills: Soul Repelling Assassination, Shield of Secret Light, Preemptive Strike. Imperishable Assassination. Sylvina teleports to the enemy's back and initiates an attack, causing 50% damage to the opponent's current vitality, ignoring the magic shield. Secret Light Shield. Turn on a shield composed of undead energy to offset the damage from the enemy for yourself. During the existence of the shield, its own attack power will be increased by 100%, and its attack speed will be increased by 50%. Preemptive Strike. In battle, you can teleport to the enemy and strike on it, causing a stun for 3 seconds. Equipment: Undead Bone Blade. Undead Bone Blade. Level: Enchanting Equipment. Special effects: reduce the consumption of skill magic power by 30%. Good. Chen Yi gave a more pertinent evaluation. This assassin-type hero is definitely a good killer. But even though Sylvina was extremely fast, she caused a lot of damage. But the powerful high-level undead stood still. Even the assassination of souls only worked once, and the rest was blocked by the undead with the sickle. It seems that this sickle undead is no less than this Sylvina. Then Chen Yi continued to extract the attributes of the sickle undead. Soul Reaper Niru. Race: Undead. Level, Hero. Basic Strength, 800. Basic Physique, 1400. Basic Agility, 200. Basic Wisdom, 250. Talent, Hard Body. Hard Body, a talent mutated from high-level undead, immune to 40% of physical damage. Skill, Soul Harvest, Soul Absorption, Soul Fluctuation. Soul Harvest, inflict 200% attack damage on the enemy. The lower the opponent's vitality, the higher the damage suffered. Every time the enemy loses 1% of life, the damage increases by 2%. Soul Absorption, after killing the enemy, the Soul Collector will absorb its soul energy and restore the corresponding vitality and magic power for itself. And permanently increase all the attributes of the enemy by 1%. Soul Fluctuation, the Soul Collector extracts the energy of the enemy's soul to heal himself, and the weaken his own enemies will be directly extracted from all souls. Equipment, Undead Scythe. Undead Scythe. Level, Enchanting Equipment. Special Effect, Magic Resistance is increased by 10%. Looking at the attributes of this sickle undead, Chen Yi feels that this is definitely an undead with unlimited potential. Because it relies on his soul to absorb. 1% of the attributes of the enemies killed will be absorbed by him, which is too strong for growth. If given enough time, it is not impossible to grow to the realm of gods. Gradually, Na Silvina was constantly being absorbed by Neebo's soul energy, and Neebo's vitality was gradually returning to its peak state. Silvina opened the shield of secret light, but there was no way to resist the power drawn by the soul. Gradually, Silvina had revealed her defeat. The vampire Earl Wyden saw this scene, and then looked at the girl who was waiting for him. Isabella, go and help your sister. Yes, master. Isabella then walked to the edge of the battlefield. At this time, there was already an undead magic book in her hand, and the magic book began to automatically turn the pages without wind at this time. That Isabella's right index finger pointed directly at the soul receiver Niru. Die. After speaking, an extremely dark ray directly penetrated Nanitz's body. What? Nanibo, together with his undead sickle, was instantly reduced to ashes by this dark ray. Before dying, there was no sound. It's like being erased from this world out of thin air. Ren and Fuchs were obviously shocked when they saw this scene. My lord, this little girl is so powerful. Chen Yi nodded. I didn't expect this little girl to be so strong. I haven't checked it just now. I thought it was not quite close to her sister. Then Chen Yi clicked on the attribute of Isabella. Isabella the Disaster Boy. Race Undead. Levels. Sage. Basic Strength, 100. Basic Constitution, 100. Basic Agility, 100. Basic Wisdom, 3000. Talent, Psychic Power. Psychic Power, Isabella is born to see dead souls, and can absorb the soul energy of those dead souls to strengthen her body. Skills, Death Singing, Death Finger, Soul Sacrifice, High-Speed Singing. Death Singing, Isabella repeatedly sings the spells from the undead spellbook, constantly controlling the spirit of the dead to attack the enemy. Over time, they will gradually gain the ability to control immunity, increase attack power, and reduce damage. Death Finger, after chanting, stretch out your finger to shoot death rays at the enemy, there is a certain chance to kill the enemy immediately. Every time you use the Finger of Death, the power of the next Death Finger will increase by 10%, but the corresponding magic power consumption will increase by 10%. Soul Sacrifice, perform continuous singing, during which 50% damage reduction is obtained, and its life and magic are continuously restored. After completing the chanting, you will gain the power to absorb the soul and restore life for a short time. High-speed chanting, the casting speed is increased by 20%, and as the battle progresses, the casting speed will be increased to 100%. Equipment, Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead. Equal Order, Magical Sacred Artifact. Special Effects, 108 necromantic spells are recorded above. Each time you master a necromantic spell, your own magic power will increase by 1%. Chen Yi couldn't help being a little surprised. This Isabella seemed to be more fierce than the Count Dracula. How could she become the servant of the Count Dracula? At this moment, the vampire count looked in the direction where Ren and Fuchs were. Since it's here, why hide it? 0. Hearing the words of the Count Dracula, Ren and Furcus looked at each other. Unexpectedly, this vampire earl had already learned of their arrival at this time. Then Na Lion looked at Chen Yi. My lord, what should I do now? Chen Yi smiled. It's okay, let's go, let's go. Then the three of them walked out from the shadow. Nivedon had gotten off the wagon at this time. Sylvina and Isabella also stood directly in front of Nivedon and guarded them. Na Whiten's bloody eyes stared at the three of them. What are you doing here? I don't think there will be any intersection between us. At this time, Rain had already pulled out a wanted warrant from his arms. The wanted order clearly depicts Wei Tan's portrait. This portrait is very different from the current Wei Tan's appearance, but the image is too different. Earl Whiten, this is a wanted order from the Empire, I don't know if you know it. Wei Tan laughed. 460. Are you sure you can defeat me and go to the Empire to get the bounty? Wei Tan was full of self-confidence in his words, and obviously did not put the three Chen Yi in his eyes. The breath that Chen Yi exudes now is just the Holy Realm. There are two people from the Holy Realm on their side, how can they fight them? Chen Yi walked in front of Ren and Fuchs at this time. I don't know, what do you want to do when you come here? Hearing Chen Yi's words, Wei Tan had already clenched the long sword in his hand. We are here to take the heart of Tone's undead, presumably this is of no use to the sacred objects of the undead clan for you. Hearing this, Chen Yi laughed haha. Then he took out a god coin from his hand. The breath of God above immediately attracted the eyes of the two undead who arrived in the Holy Realm, Whiten and Isabella. This is. Wei Tan looked obsessed. This is exactly the breath of God that he dreams of and is after. That is the existence that transcends all life levels, and only gods can have such a breath. Here, where did you get it from? Wei Tan couldn't look away from the magic coin, but he was still very curious about where he got it. Chen Yi smiled. How do you look at this thing? Wei Tan nodded. Okay, it's really good, this is something more precious than the heart of the undead. Ha ha. Chen Yi smiled again, then took out a divine coin from his pocket. I don't know if I can buy you this thing for 3 days. Wei Tan turned to look at Chen Yi. You mean, give us these two things, and then make us 3 days? Chen Yi nodded. Of course, in these 3 days, you are our mercenaries. Wei Tan shook his head immediately. Although the breath of the gods above is what he desires now, but the amount is too small to get it and it is of little use. Impossible, I would never do this kind of thing. Hey, really? Chen Yi looked at Wei Tan with a look of Sunere, and then took another divine coin from his pocket. 3 agree. No, you can't move me. Wei Tan then took out the vampire sword. Please don't insult me anymore. Chen Yi fished his ears. Directly took out 10 divine coins from his arms. What about this? You. After Wei Tan saw the magic coins, his breathing almost stopped. He has a feeling that as long as he obtains these divine coins, he can break through to the semi-god realm. This. Wei Tan's tone hesitated. He has never succumbed to others in his life, even in the Empire. But at this moment, his heart moved. The desire for higher levels of power almost swallowed his pride. Chen Yi looked at Wei Tan with a tangled face, and directly took out some magic coins. Directly collected enough 20 god coins and put them in his own hands. The divine coins collided with each other, and the breath of the god swayed wantonly, forming a small circle. Wei Tan couldn't help it anymore. Say, what do you want me to do? After Chen Yi heard it, he laughed. I have no other request to help us open the way to the undead Black Tower. You are an undead creature, and you will never attract the attention of other undead creatures. Wei Tan couldn't help being a little curious when he heard it. Why do you want to go to the undead Black Tower? Chen Yi glanced at Wei Tan. It's better not to know this kind of thing. Wei Tan nodded. Okay, I don't ask. Chen Yi threw 10 god coins to Wei Tan at this time. This is a deposit, and the rest will be discussed after things are done. Wei Tan took the 10 divine coins and said immediately, okay, I agree. Chen Yi looked at Wei Tan's carriage. We are sitting in this carriage. You can drive the carriage to take us over. After speaking, Chen Yi greeted Ren and Fuchs. Go, get in the carriage. Ren and Furcus nodded, too. Then the three of them got on Na Wei Tan's wagon of the undead, and Wei Tan looked at the 10 god coins with obsessive eyes. The power of rules contained in these 10 divine coins is really fascinating. At this time Wei Tan looked at Sylvina and Isabella. You get in the carriage too, I'll just drive it. Sylvina and Isabella looked at each other. Yes, master. After the 5 people entered the carriage, Wei Tan directly drove the undead carriage towards the direction of the Black Tower. During the period, those undead had no reaction. In the carriage, Chen Yi, Ren and Fuchs are looking at the 2 undead sisters. Both sides stared at each other, and no one said a word. Chen Yi took the lead to break the calm. How did you meet Wei Tan? Can you tell us about it? I like to hear stories. The sister Isabella glanced at Wei Tan outside the carriage. Wei Tan then said, "That's it, this is the only employer of our master and servant in this life, but we must cherish it." After getting Wei Tan's permission, that Isabella relaxed. Then the story between their 2 sisters and Wei Tan was told. The 2 sisters Isabella have lived in a village on the border of the Yaoguang Empire since they were young. And Isabella has been able to see those dead souls since she was a child. And will swallow the energy of those souls unconsciously. But when they were 9 years old, a band of deserters and war criminals ransacked their village. The villagers fought back with drafting forks and sickles, but there were hands of these robbers. Most of the villagers were killed by robbers. Isabella's parents were also killed. At that moment, Isabella awakened her psychic power. Absorbed all the vitality of those robbers into his body. Isabella saved the existence. But the surviving villagers think Isabella is a devil cursed by the devil. And afterwards, Isabella would be burned to death on the cross. Sylvina escaped with Isabella. On the way to escape, the 2 ran into Earl Wyden. Wei Tan discovered Isabella's talent, so he kept the 2 by his side. And also taught Sylvina the method of assassination. By the way, the undead spellbook was handed over to Isabella's hands. Isabella was born with a very strong magical talent, and soon learned all the undead spells. Since then, the 2 have been following the Earl of Wyden until now. After listening to this, Chen Yi couldn't help but feel a little sigh. Unexpectedly, the human beings in this world are so ignorant and actually did such a cruel and inhuman thing. After Isabella finished speaking, she didn't speak anymore. Obviously the narration just now aroused some bad memories for her. Chen Yi looked out from the window of the carriage. The street in Bantes was very quiet. Most of the undead stayed in place. Wyden's carriage was walking on the street, like walking in hell. The journey went smoothly. Passing through most of the city of Bantes, the carriage stopped in front of the Black Tower of Bantes. The location of the undead Black Tower is in the southeast corner of the entire Bantes city. There is still a long way to go to the palace in the north, so I can be sure that it won't disturb the King of Bones. The 3 Chen Yi got out of the carriage. At this time Chen Yi said to Wei Tan, "You follow us in, and you 2 little maids will stay outside and guard." Wei Tan nodded. Good. Sylvina and Isabella stood on both sides of the carriage, watching the wandering undead. The breath of higher undead exudes. The undead were a few hundred meters away from here immediately. After all, the feeling of living in this high-level undead breath is really hard. It is like when you sleep, the teacher or the leader is watching you by your bed. The feelings of those undead are similar to this. The history of the undead Black Tower is a long time ago. Some people say that it is even longer than the history of the entire city of Bantes. The undead in this is different from the undead of the entire Bantes. The reason for the difference is that the undead among them could not bear the tyranny of Tauren, and thus hid in this undead Black Tower. There is also a saying that Tauren, the King of Bones, eradicated dissidents and imprisoned these undead directly in this undead Black Tower. Moreover, these undeads are not the same as other undeads who pursue immortality. They extremely hate this form of immortality. But there is no way for dead souls to commit suicide. Being imprisoned in prison, they can only wait for someone to free them. Open the door of the undead Black Tower. Full of the desolate breath of the undead. This undead Black Tower has 25 floors above it and 100 floors below it. According to Ren, the ring of majesty of the god of light was sealed under the 100th floor. Chen Yi, Ren, Fuchs, and Wei Tan walked in. Sylvina and Isabella outside the door closed the door of the undead Black Tower to prevent the wailing of the undead from spreading to the city. The hall of the undead was very large, and there was a faint sound in the air. That is the wailing of all the souls imprisoned in it. Ren looked up and down, and finally found a mechanism. After opening it, a staircase leading to the underground appeared in the center of the Hall of the Dead. At the moment of opening, the wailing of the undead just now clearly spread to the ears of the 4. There was a wailing. I don't know how many undead came out together. That wailing is full of accusations and resentment towards this world. If it's an ordinary person, I'm afraid it's already scared to the ground now. Chen Yi and the others looked as usual. These are just small scenes. Walking down the hall, the passage under the hall of the undead was full of decadent smell. It's not smelly. This smell is like the smell of a mummy that has been sealed for 1,000 years in the pyramid. When they came to the basement floor, there were prisons everywhere, and the undead stared at Chen Yi and them in the iron fence. These undead have degenerated. Degenerate from high-level undead to low-level undead. Perhaps when they were rebelling against Tone's tyranny, they were able to remain sober. But I don't know how many years have passed. These dead souls have long been eroded by time. Without staying too much, Chen Yi led the 3 people down one after another. The lower the number of layers, the stronger the strength of those undead. The wailing is getting stronger and stronger. In the end, Ren and Furcus had to close their hearing. Chen Yi and Wei Tan didn't feel much. The wailing of these undead is like a cat barking to Chen Yi. Milky sound, milky sound. Gradually, Chen Yi and the others are getting faster and faster. 20 floors, 40 floors, 60 floors, 90 floors. If it's a man, go down 100 floors. Finally, Chen Yi has reached the 100th floor. And this final 100 floors, at this time, there is no prison. Instead, there is a hall that is almost the same as the hall at the beginning. The hall is huge. An undead in armor was standing in the middle of the hall at this time. Did not see the figure of the Ring of Majesty. At this moment, the armored undead began to frighten. The eyes have also been opened. It is an eye without white eyes, looking at everyone in darkness. Who are you who dare to come here? Chen Yi looked at the undead, and then extracted the attributes of the undead. Doomsday Guard, Grizel, Race Undead, Level, Demigod. Basic Strength, 2000. Basic Physique, 2000. Basic Agility, 1000. Basic Wisdom, 1000. Talent Heirs of the Undead. Undead words. After the battle begins, a high-level undead will be summoned to fight for it every minute, and the high-level undead will lose their lives over time. Skills: Undead King, Soul Eater, Shadow Shield, Guardian of the Undead, / 460. Undead King. Raise a tombstone behind the enemy and illuminate the damage in a range, and summon a high-level undead to fight with the enemy at the time. The high-level undead high loses his life over time. Soul Eater / attack the enemy in front of you, taking 70% of the attack damage, stealing 30% of the attack and defense blessings from the hit enemy. Damage to enemies with stolen attributes is increased by 100%. Undead Guardian. During the battle, all friendly undead get 30% damage reduction, and the damage reduction from magic attacks is increased to 50%. Shadow Shield. Apply a deadly shield to an ally to resist 300% damage from its own attacks. If it is shattered for the duration, it will cause 300% damage to the enemy around it. Break. Kill enemies with low vitality, and kill enemies with a health value of less than 20%. After killing the target, it will automatically bless a shadow shield for itself. Equipment. Eviscerate Blade. Open corner bracket levels close corner bracket, semi-artifact. Special effects. Blood Slaughter, Shadow of the Undead. Blood Slaughter. For enemies who reach the kill line, they will automatically attract themselves to the front. Shadow of the Undead. After the death of your friendly army, a Shadow of the Undead will be formed on the weapon to increase the attack power. Introduction. The Doomsday Guard is the righteous son of the King of Bones, sent to guard the Ring of Majesty. Quote. Chen Yi did not expect this to be a demigod undead. But he didn't panic. The difference between demigods and gods is not even a little bit. But Ren Fox and Wei Tan, what Chen Yi feels is not so relaxed and casual. In their eyes, the Doomsday Guard in front of him exudes extremely strong undead energy. The breath of the demigod almost made them breathe. Ren said in a trembling voice. My lord, that's a demigod undead. Chen Yi heard Ren's words and nodded. I know, why are you panicking? Then an aura belonging to the gods appeared on Chen Yi's body. The 3 Ren were immediately crushed to the ground by this pressure. The guard of the Doomsday was also directly suppressed and could not move, directly half-kneeling and forcibly propped on the ground. A few words popped out between the teeth. God is actually a god. The Doomsday Guard's eyes are full of indomitability, but the huge gap in power makes the Doomsday Guards no power to fight back at all. Even the gap between the demigod and the demigod is huge. Like this Doom Guard, the flame dragon on the Stigmata plane before can hang him countless times. And the gap between the demigod and the god is even more different from Tianyuan. The minds of the three Ren had already begun to be confused at this time. It turns out that the one who has been walking with them is actually a god. This is really enough for them to brag for a lifetime. After all, no one has ever seen a god, and actually encountered it here. No wonder Chen Yi looks calm and relaxed from beginning to end. Not many people can have this kind of confidence. No, no one will have it. After all, this is a god. The most powerful existence in this world. The undead power of the Doomsday Guard at this time has begun to disintegrate. Under Chen Yi's divine power suppression, he could no longer maintain his undead body. As if being blown away by the wind, the Doomsday Guard fell apart directly in front of Chen Yi. When seeing this scene, the three Ren breathed a sigh of relief at this time. And Chen Yi has already recovered his divine power at this time. Among the ashes left by the guard of the Doomsday, a pure white glowing ring appeared in front of Chen Yi. Chen Yi stepped forward and picked up the ring. The attributes of the ring have also appeared in front of Chen Yi at this time. Ring of Prestige. Open corner bracket Earth grade close corner bracket, artifact. Wearing requirements demigod. Strength bonus, 5,000. Physique bonus, 5,000. Agility bonus, 5,000. Wisdom bonus, 80,000. Special effect, plus 80% wisdom. Plus 20% physical resistance. Plus 50% magic resistance. Plus 100% light damage. When attacking, there is a 1% chance to summon the Spear of Light. Ring skills, Holy Wrath, Spear of Light, Cross of Light, Wing of Light. Holy Fury, summon the power of light, Dragon Grass, for 10 minutes, double the magic effect of all light attributes. Light Spear, summon a light spear, causing huge light magic penetrating damage to the enemy. Holy Light Cross, summon a huge Holy Light Cross for 10 minutes. The Holy Cross has the following abilities. Inflicts sacred lightning damage of 50% of its own attack power to enemies around 100 meters per second. Holy Lightning has a paralyzing effect. A light healing effect that inflicts 80% of its own attack power on allies around 100 meters per second. After being healed, it will increase its magic resistance by 10% within 10 seconds. Bright Wings, summon Bright Wings, you will get flying ability, and the flying speed is related to your own strength. The Guardian of the Doomsday, being an undead, has no way to wear this Ring of Majesty. Otherwise, he can still stand in front of Chen Yi for a while. Chen Yi laughed with satisfaction. It's very comfortable to get an artifact. Then Chen Yi put it on his left middle finger. The Ring of Majesty exudes a dazzling brilliance on Chen Yi's fingers, enveloping Chen Yi, looking very dreamy. He didn't have the idea of giving this artifact to his own race. After all, this thing is not compatible with Cain. After wearing the Ring of Majesty, Chen Yi felt that the divine power in his body had increased a little. At the same time, there was more knowledge about light in my mind. But immediately, one of the messages made Chen Yi ecstatic. That is the Ring of Majesty that recorded the location of the godhead after the god of Guangming fell. After the battle between the god of light and the god of darkness, he dragged his broken body to a place called the Abyss of Annihilation. This Abyss of Annihilation is also known as the Well of Annihilation. It is a different space separated from the world. There, the god of light is directly extinguished, and all his life's divine power is condensed into a light god. This light godhead can only be used by gods. After use, there will be more priesthood of the god of light. Of course, the degree of mastery of the law of light will be the same as Chen Yi's current realm. After use, Chen Yi is the god of light and harvest. Chen Yi could not resist this temptation. Then Chen Yi looked at Ren and them. My purpose has been achieved. Next I am going to annihilate the abyss to do something. Ryan, Furcus will come with me. After speaking, Chen Yi took Na Rain and Fuchs to the top of the tower. Nivedon followed closely behind him eagerly. He wanted to remind Chen Yi that half of his remuneration was not given. After coming to the outside of the undead Black Tower, Chen Yi glanced at Wei Tan, and then threw 10 divine coins to him. Wei Tan hurriedly caught it, and finally got the ancient relic that could make his breakthrough. Chen Yi glanced at several people. From now on, I'm leaving. After I'm gone, Wei Tan can't take any action against Ren. Then Chen Yi took out 2 magic coins and threw them to Ren and Fuchs. These 2 divine coins can allow you to break through the current realm. After Chen Yi finished speaking, the whole person rose into the sky and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Looking at Chen Yi who was leaving, several people glanced at each other. Wei Tan said at this time, "If it weren't for God's order, would you be there now?" The kings died. Ren and Fuchs snorted coldly. Then the 2 began to walk outside the city of Bantes. Wei Tan looked at the magic coin in his hand obsessively. With these magic coins, you can definitely make a breakthrough yourself. At this moment, Bantes appeared in the city and let out a loud roar. The sound spread throughout the city. "Who is it? Who killed my son? I am going to kill you." Wei Tan's face changed. "No, the King of Bones found us. Then ride in the undead carriage. Sylvina, Isabella, let's go." "Yes, master." The undead carriage suddenly turned into a black fog, ignoring the building in front of it, and began to run into the distance. And in front of the undead black tower, a green meteor fell in front of the door. A skeleton wearing a crown appeared. The skeleton looked up to the sky and roared. "No matter where you go, I will catch you. Annihilate the abyss." This strange space opened up by the innate gods of the Rorschach plane. I don't know how many years no one or god has set foot here. Chen Yi came here at this time, looking at the huge annihilation vortex in the clouds. The violent power in it is enough to shred any creatures involved. Chen Yi stepped in. The surrounding violent energy is unable to cause any harm to Chen Yi. At this time, a white light suddenly shot out from the ring of Majesty on Chen Yi's finger, guiding Chen Yi to the location of the bright godhead. Chen Yi flew forward along the white light, passing through the center of the vortex of the annihilation abyss, then came to a strange space. Here is a weird space in a surreal dimension. In the gap between the Rorschach plane and chaos, there are no laws of physics. All the laws of physics lose all their effects directly here. The unstable force field and the fragile space structure make it possible for every space here to collapse. Chen Yi walked in it, feeling the breath of the godhead of light. The white light emitted by the ring of Majesty has also been folded out hundreds of millions of times at this time. Chen Yi saw the real passage at a glance. If Chen Yi is not a god, it is impossible to see the mystery here. Chen Yi followed the light and walked directly through a space. It seemed that the mirror was broken, and a 460 palace appeared in front of Chen Yi at this time. The palace is extremely majestic, and the whole body is made of bright spar. A figure stood in front of the palace door at this time. Seeing Chen Yi coming in, he immediately opened his eyes and looked at Chen Yi. "Who is here?" It was a woman exuding a sharp aura. She was wrapped in pure white armor, which made it hard to see her true face. The long sword in his hand is a Western-style longsword, which looks extremely sharp. Chen Yi didn't expect that there was a guardian in the Temple of Light. Then Chen Yi extracted the attributes of that woman and showed them before his eyes. Italia, Blade of Retribution. Race, Sword Spirit. Levels, Demigod. Basic Strength, 3000. Basic Physique, 3500. Basic Agility, 10,000. Basic Wisdom, 20. Ada 00. Talent, Heaven's Punishment. Heaven's Punishment. As the weapon spirit of the Heaven's Punishment Blade, Autalia has a natural restraint effect on dark creatures, and its damage to all dark creatures is increased by 100%. Skills: Holy Sword, Judgment, Gathering Prey, Flash, Sword Dance Lotus, Invincible Slash. Holy Sword. Autalia flew into the air and used 3 slashes across the world to attack the enemy. The power of each slash will double the power of the previous one. Judgment. Immediately irradiate an enemy with extremely strong damage, and the power of judgment will remain in the enemy's body forever, and the power of judgment will greatly reduce the enemy's vitality recovery and magic recovery. Gathering Prey. A sword spirit clone will be summoned every once in a while. Whenever a sword spirit clone survives, Autalia will get 10% damage reduction. Whenever a sword spirit clone dies, you will get a 10% attack bonus. Flash. Melt the body into the light, causing a strong physical and light attribute double damage to an enemy, and causing it to dizzy and blinding effects. Sword Dance Lotus. Sword Chi transforms into a bright lotus flower, causing multiple damages to enemies in the lotus flower, and additional light attribute attacks with the enemy's vitality. Invincible slash, attack 10 times in an instant, causing extremely strong damage to a single enemy, and each blow will increase the damage of the next blow. During the release, it will enter a pseudo-invincible state. Pseudo-invincible status. All attacks under the gods are invalid. Equipment: Blade of Heaven's Punishment. Blade of Heaven's Punishment. Level: Artifact. Wearing requirements: Demigod. Strength bonus: 1000. Physique bonus: 1000. Agility bonus 10,000. Edo: 1000. Special effect: plus 100% agility. Plus 10% physical resistance. Plus 10% magic resistance. Plus 100% physical damage. Increases damage to dark creatures by 100%. Artifact skills: Heaven's Punishment, Absolute Load, God Killing, Eternal Tribulation. Heaven's Punishment. Enemies who cause damage to themselves will be counter-injured and immediately lose 70% of their current vitality. Definitely, the higher the enemy's attack power, the higher the damage it will cause. Killing the gods can cause damage to the gods. Eternal Tribulation: a normal attack becomes a 2-stage attack, and each attack will be able to cause 120% damage. Introduction: Atalia as the sword spirit of the Blade of Heaven's Punishment. In the Long War, he cut off the 3 swords of the Sacred Blade, the Blade of God Killing, and the Blade of Eternal Calamity, and absorbed them. After their sword spirits evolved. Since then, Atalia has become the only sword spirit able to control himself. After Chen Yi saw the woman's message, he immediately felt that she was definitely the leader among the demigods. And as a sword spirit, he could actually reach this height. It is already the kind of peerless genius. Atalia had already seen the ring on Chen Yi's finger at this time. Master, how could the ring be in your hands? Holy sword. Every time Atalia waits for Chen Yi to speak, it is directly the 3 sword chi slashes that penetrate the sky and the earth. One of these 3 slashes was stronger than one, and Yidu had already felt the wind of that sword aura. But this has no effect on Chen Yi. After all, Chen Yi is a god. Atalia is just a demigod. Even with the god's effect on the Blade of Retribution, the damage it can cause to Chen Yi is minimal. Dang dang. After 3 slashes, Chen Yi only used his fingers to offset the slashes. All he got in exchange was a slight tingling of his fingers. The demigod can cause such damage is already very good. Under normal circumstances, demigods cannot cause any harm to the gods at all. Seeing that it didn't work, Atalia used Invincible Slash directly. Invincible Slash made 10 attacks at Chen Yi in an instant, but Chen Yi was still unscathed. Just when Atalia was reluctant and wanted to attack again, Chen Yi directly revealed all his divine power, and the surrounding space has formed a spatial turbulence under Chen Yi's divine power. Atalia saw this scene and was already extremely flustered. It was the god who came in person, and the strange power was never seen by Atalia. Atalia looked at Chen Yi, and at this time had already given up the idea of attacking. Because no matter how you attack, you can't cause any effective damage. Chen Yi slowly fell in front of the Temple of Light. Looking at that Atalia, from now on, I will be your master. Atalia's face was unyielding. Who are you? How dare you be my master? Chen Yi did not answer, but walked directly to the Temple of Light. A light curtain fell in the Temple of Light at this time, blocking Chen Yi from outside. This is the light magic circle of the Temple of Light, which can block all people whose realm is under the gods. Even Atalia couldn't get in. Chen Yi waved his hand and directly smashed the light barrier. Then he stepped up the white stairs and began to walk into the Temple of Light. No, you can't go in. Atalia drew his sword at this time and directly attacked Chen Yi. The sword seemed to cut through the world. Chen Yi frowned. I didn't expect this sword spirit to be so axis. Then Chen Yi waved his hand and confined the sword spirit Atalia in place. One of the gods, do whatever you want. The life under the divine realm has always been a state of crushing. As the power of imprisonment increases, Atalia's body shape is also changing. When the imprisonment power reached its apex, Atalia was immediately returned into the Blade of Punishment that day by Chen Yi. The Blade of Heaven's Punishment at this time showed its true side as the strongest artifact of Rorschach's throne. Chen Yi took it lightly, and walked directly to the Temple of Light with the Blade of Heaven's Punishment. There are many pillars carved from white jade in the Temple of Light, and all of them are the records of the conquests of the gods of light and darkness. And above the central god seat of the Temple of Light, a dazzling godhead appeared in front of Chen Yi at this time. That is the godhead of the god of light. This god of light once reached the middle god and was a stronger existence than Chen Yi. But at this time he has fallen, and the true spirit remaining in the godhead has also disappeared in the long years. Chen Yi stepped forward. The godhead of the god of light was also held by him at this time. The godhead takes the form of a polyhedron, and each side has an infinite law of light inscribed on it. There is the power that is pure to the ultimate light. Unparalleled purity. According to the knowledge learned from school, Chen Yi directly pressed the light to his forehead. If you want to absorb the godhead of the other deities, you must re-understand the path and principles of that deity's becoming a god. Chen Yi sits on the seat of the god of light, looking down at all beings. That light godhead directly submerged in Chen Yi's eyebrows. A bright eye manifests from the center of Chen Yi's brow. The divine power of harvest and the divine power of light are constantly intertwined and assimilated. In a sense, these two divine powers belong to very close existences. Only the light can bring a good harvest, and feel the light after the harvest. In front of Chen Yi's eyes, the life of the god of light appeared at this time. From the day the Rorschach plane was born, the god of light was conceived in all kinds of light. The light of the sun, the light of the beginning, the light of the colorful clouds, the light of the gloom. Born from all the light in the world, the god of light is born the next deity. After its birth, the god of light immediately ruled all the gods and races who yearned for light. The god of darkness also rules all the gods and races who yearn for darkness at the same time. There is no difference between the two. Whether it is a mortal or a god, there is an immense yearning for things like power. So there was a war between the two. No matter who it is, they want to rule the entire Rorschach plane. But the strength between the two is too balanced. No matter which side it is, there is no way to take advantage. In the final decisive battle, both lose and lose one after another. Since then, no gods will interfere in the world. After Chen Yi had absorbed the light godhead, the nature of the divine power had also changed. Quality was even closer than the pure harvest power. This means that the power has become more powerful. Chen Yi opened his eyes, and an extremely bright light shot in and out like the beginning of the sky. All darkness is invisible in these eyes. At this time, Chen Yi has completely absorbed the light godhead, and the god interface has also changed. Deity interface. Name: Chen Yi. God name: Asathos. Title: God of Harvest, God of Light. God order: Lower God. Power: the power of harvest, infinite evolution, and the power of light. Power of harvest: no matter what resources your believers harvest, they can achieve a bumper harvest. Infinite evolution: your race can evolve infinitely, it can consume divine power to evolve basic attributes, and it can also consume divine power to advance the race talent. Power of light: the divine power that controls the power of light. All the light of the world will be used for you. Divine power. 9. Ignite the fire, it has been ignited. Condensed godhead, not condensed. Requires 10,000 supernatural powers. Construction of the kingdom of God, not constructed. Required 1 million supernatural power. Chen Yi was satisfied to see this scene. Finally gained a new priesthood. Now Chen Yi's strength can be said to have more than doubled. Mastering the divine power of light for the first time, Chen Yi couldn't wait to become the light and fly unscrupulously in the entire Temple of Light. As the God of Light, this Temple of Light has spent countless resources to build a temple with a strong power to gather light. At this time, Chen Yi had already gained control of this Temple of Light. Boom boom boom. Chen Yi has already begun to move the Temple of Light at this time. He wants to move this entire Temple of Light to his own harvest plane. The Temple of Light occupies approximately 100,000 square meters. 0. Chen Yi has already begun to shrink the entire Temple of Light. Boom. After a dazzling brilliance, Chen Yi directly teleported the Temple of Guangming to his plane of harvest. Chen Yi began to look for the foothold of the Temple of Light on the plane of harvest. In the end, Chen Yi chose a plateau. It's a kilometer away from the horizon, plus the open area, it's best to put it here. The Temple of Light was immediately located on this plateau. On the plateau, the Temple of Light shines on the entire plain of harvest like another sun. But this power is soft, which is of great benefit to the whole world. Bathed in this light, all the Tauren began to worship there until eternity. Chen Yi also looked at the attributes of the Temple of Light. Temple of Light. Level. Myth. Special effect. The place where the light gathers will subtly change the lives in it, greatly increasing its potential attributes. Special effect. Praying in the Temple of Light will increase the faith generated by 10 times. This Temple of Light is really good. Then Chen Yi sent down the oracle and asked Cain to send some people to garrison at the Temple of Light. For a while, I don't know how many Tauren are vying for one another. After all, it is a great honor to stay on top of that temple. And Chen Yi had forgotten the time. It was time to go to the Sun Temple for an appointment. I don't know what kind of adventure Bai Zhu had in this Rorschach plain. Thinking of this, Chen Yi transformed into a streamer and rushed out of the abyss of oblivion, and flew directly to the Sun Temple. Temple of the Sun. A huge temple built in the desert. The most sacred place of the brutal blood tribe. The golden sunflowers all over the mountains and plains are swaying with the wind at this time. Here is full of sunflowers. As long as someone steps on it, the sunflowers will eject solar flames and burn them to ashes. Chen Yi had turned into a streamer and came here, hiding his breath, took out his mobile phone and positioned it here and waited for Bai Zhu them. At this time, a breath of divine power drifted across the horizon. Bai Zhu has also come here at this time. Chen Yi was easily found based on the location of the phone. Bai Zhu looked at Chen Yi at this time, his eyes were full of incredible expression. Chen Yi, how has the nature of your divine power changed? Chen Yi heard Bai Zhu's words, and then smiled. Good luck, I found the godhead of the God of Light. What? Bai Zhu's face was full of envy. You can, 463, is not just good luck. I don't know how many seniors came to this world to find the godhead of the God of Light, but they all returned without end. Upon hearing this, Chen Yi smiled. It's okay. Bai Zhu sighed. It's so popular, but do you want to take the college entrance examination in advance? Chen Yi couldn't help being a little surprised when Bai Zhu said this. What's the matter? Is there any idea of taking the college entrance examination in advance? Bai Zhu nodded. Of course there is. As long as you reach your lower god, the college entrance examination will not say whether you are a freshman or a senior. We have a lot of geniuses in high school. They took the college entrance examination when they were in the first or second year of high school, and the results were very good. When you arrive at the university, the resources that can be given are far from those of high school. One step is slow. Many people race against time to get more resources than others. Chen Yi couldn't help but feel a little moved when he heard it. With my current strength, I can definitely take the college entrance examination. Next, in high school is nothing more than learning some theoretical knowledge and cultivating one's own race. The resources are only obtained by the freshman year. Rather than waste the entire high school, it is better to go to college in advance to get resources. Thinking of this, Chen Yi began to ask, for the college entrance examination, how about the strength of the race that invaded your plane? Bai Zhu thought for a while. The power theories of those invading planes have no upper limit. As long as you keep calling to stop, they will keep invading. During this period, it has been able to survive 5 rounds of racial invasion, and it has reached the admission score of a third-rate university. More than 6 rounds, that is the admission score of a second-rate university. 7 rounds, the admission scores of first-class universities are also the best universities in every province of the empire. But if you want to enter the Imperial Capital University, you must break through the 10th round. Otherwise, even if you break through 9 rounds, you can only go to some top universities. After hearing these messages, Chen Yi nodded. It's absolutely no problem for your own Tauren to survive the 7th round, but it's not that simple to survive the 10th round. Everyone who can reach the admission score of Imperial Capital University is bound to be the pride of heaven. No wonder I wish them so hungry for these sunflowers. This little sunflower can also improve their scores by 1 round. Thinking of this, Chen Yi is also extremely eager for sunflowers. Okay, then I will take the college entrance examination in advance. Even if I can't afford a university, the first-class university is fine. Bai Zhu nodded. Then you can apply to the school when you go back, and the school will approve it. Okay. At this time, Kui Zihu and Mao Yichao had also found them based on the location of their mobile phones. Seeing Chen Yi and Bai Zhu say hello. After feeling Chen Yi's supernatural power, the two were also extremely surprised. When they heard that Chen Yi actually got the godhead of the God of Light, it made them envy. After all, there are no 1,000 or 800 deities who have searched for the godhead of the God of Light over the years. But I didn't expect Chen Yi to get his hands. At this time the four gods gathered together. Chen Yi and the others no longer hide their magical aura, and start plundering the sunflowers that are all over the mountains. At this time, the god of the sun, who was asleep in the temple of the sun, woke up immediately and came here directly holding the sun scepter. The sun's divine power is as vast as the sea, shining the entire sky into a very day. Where are you gods, dare to come and steal my sunflower? Chen Yi and Bai Zhu looked at each other. This big battle is inevitable. Although the sun god cannot be killed in accordance with the rules of the empire, the sun god can also be beaten away. Superior. Without talking nonsense with the sun god, the four Chen Yi directly used their divine power to fight the sun god. When the sun god saw Chen Yi and the four of them disagreeing, they started to fight, and suddenly became angry. I must kill you all. After speaking, the sun god raised the sun scepter and shot Chen Yi and the others. The divine power of the sun condenses into rays, attacking Chen Yi and the others with infinite power. Chen Yi directly condensed a spear of light in his hand. The power and penetrating power of this spear of light are extremely strong. Hey! The spear of light suddenly came before the god of the sun god. Seeing the spear of light, the sun god was shocked. Because this was once a masterpiece of the god of light. But I didn't expect to see it again here. Using the sun scepter to fly the spear of light, the spear of light immediately fell into a mountain range. Suddenly a strong explosion of light occurred in the mountains. The explosion shocked the entire brutal blood tribe. When seeing that the sun god he worshipped was surrounded by four of the same gods, the brutal blood tribe immediately began to pray there. Pray for your own sun god to be invincible. Chen Yi has fully deployed his divine power at this time, and the infinite light is even more dazzling than the god of the sun. With bright lightning raging in his hand, Chen Yi directly squeezed his fist against the god of the sun. The cage of light, a cage of the purest power of light condensed by lightning. The sun god yelled again and again. You can't hold me in a cage of light. After talking about the endless sun rays emitted from the sun god scepter, the light cage was shaken endlessly. But Bai Zhu and the others are constantly attacking the sun god. Although they are all auxiliary clergy, the divine power attacks issued are extremely pure and can cause great harm to the sun god. The sun god discovered that something was wrong, and if he continued like this, he would definitely die in the hands of these people. A pair of dazzling golden wings appeared behind him, and the pair of light cages slammed hard. At the cost of his whole body wounds, the sun god directly rushed out of the cage. After rushing out of the cage, the sun god did not love fighting, but flew directly to the sky. Seeing that the sun god escaped, Chen Yi did not chase after him. Can't kill after all. Then I looked at the sunflowers all over the mountains. Bai Zhu shouted excitedly, now you can make a fortune. The four rushed directly into the flower field and collected the sunflowers. The four of them divided up the sunflowers in a blink of an eye. The sun god still has some seeds, even if they take all the sunflowers away, it won't affect anything. Afterwards, the four appeared directly outside the crystal wall of the plain. Now the things to be done on the summer plain in the coming year are over, it's time to leave. When he came to the self-service ticket machine, Chen Yi directly bought a ticket to the Zhangzhou temples with magic coins. After bidding farewell to the three of Bai Zhu, they left chaos. Now he is going to the school to apply for the college entrance examination. Chen Yi does not want to waste 2 years in the school. After all, I have limited sources of resources, no better than those students who rely on their families. Came to Zhangzhou High School. Chen Yi has been away for a long time in a blink of an eye. It's not a few days since the college entrance examination, so you must declare your quota before then. Thinking of this, Chen Yi went directly to Zhou Haji. As his head teacher, Zhou Haji has this right to help him declare. When he arrived at the residence of Zhou Haji of the school, Chen Yi knocked on the door. Zhou Haji opened the door soon. It was Chen Yi and Zhou Haji was surprised. Chen, what's the matter? Chen Yi is straightforward. Ms. Zhou, I want to take the college entrance examination. I don't know if it is inconvenient for you to declare for me now. Hearing Chen Yi's words, Zhou Heji realized Chen Yi's current situation in a blink of an eye. After all, without family support, it is extremely difficult to get to this step. If you continue to stay in high school, I am afraid that everyone will soon be obscured. Well, I will report to the school. You will wait in the dormitory of the school. I will take you to the examination room on the day of the college entrance examination. Okay, thank you, teacher. You go first. Chen Yi then nodded and walked towards the dormitory. Looking at Chen Yi going away, Zhou Heji felt that his future achievements were absolutely extraordinary. I just don't know what kind of results can be achieved in the college entrance examination. When Chen Yi returned to the dormitory, he couldn't wait to immerse himself in the plain of harvest. The giant piranha, corpse demon flower and sunflower have already begun to plant. Because the giant piranha and the corpse demon flower are seeds, they can't form much combat power in a short time. Therefore, it is planted by the river and taken care of by a dedicated person. After all, he is a master of survival and he is very good at planting these seeds. Cain planted sunflowers there strictly in accordance with the format of the moat. The whole city wall is covered with sunflowers. When the city is attacked in the future, it will definitely be able to resist several groups of enemies. The transplantation of sunflowers is very difficult. Fortunately, there is dragon leather armor made by the flame dragon, which is immune to most of the flames. In the end, Cain led the tribe to plant sunflowers all around the city of Tauren. Once the sunflower hits an enemy, it will spit out solar flame. The temperature caused by these flames is extremely high, and ordinary races cannot resist it. Chen Yi also lowered the oracle here. In 3 months, there will be an invasion of otherworld enemies. From now on, we will make every effort to deploy fortifications. And the arrows must be done more, so as to be able to sacrifice the Tauren less in the offense. This is not a drill, it will definitely kill people. And the artifact cannot be used. Cain became completely nervous when he heard that the artifacts of world destruction armor and Vulcan scepter could not be used. After all, in Cain's cognition, no one is an opponent of world-destroying armor. But now it can't be used, which makes Cain a little embarrassed. There are always more solutions than difficulties. Cain thought of an idea that can achieve both. That is to dismantle all the magnetic bombs of the world destruction armor and launch them with a catapult at that time. As for the extinction bomb and doomsday meteorite scroll, Cain would not use it stupidly. After all, the damage caused after use is far from what he can bear. When the time comes, the enemy will defend him and his homeland will be gone. Chen Yi also saw Cain's actions. Can't help but feel how important it is to have a wise race. After all, even oneself did not expect to be able to do this. The magnetic bomb has now been divided into 4 parts. One serving is 25 pieces. 5 catapults must be installed in front of each city gate, and 5 magnetic bombs are arranged behind each catapult. However, Cain also considered that the invading race might not have metal objects on them. So they ordered thousands of Tauren to bury thousands of tons of metal ingots such as steel ingots, copper ingots, and silver ingots in the ground in front of the Tauren. These metal ingots usually do not show up and the critical moment is the explosive medium that activates the magnetic bomb. After doing all this, Cain ordered people to start digging the moat again. Cain manipulated the world-destroying armor to complete the defensive facility, which took 2 full years to complete, within 2 months. The water in the lake was drawn in, forming a moat 20 meters wide and 50 meters deep in front of the Minotaur city. The moat formed a circle, enclosing the entire Tauren city. The water level of the lake has dropped by 5 meters. The sunflower is directly transplanted in front of the moat. Even if you want to get through the moat, you have to pass the sea of fire in front of the moat first. In order to prevent those races from breaking through the sea of fire, they went directly to the moat to extinguish the flames, and deliberately moved the sunflower forward by 100 meters. After all this is done, the time has come for the college entrance examination. Chen Yi deliberately changed into a new school uniform that day, and came to the school playground early after bathing and washing. At this time, the playground was already full of 463 students from the 3rd year of high school, and part of the 2nd year of high school was in the crowd. Haji had also come here at this time. The whole senior year was Chen Yi alone, who looked outstanding. At this time, one school bus after another came, and the students began to be borrowed one after another. Haji looked at Chen Yi, then patted Chen Yi on the shoulder. Don't be nervous. With the strength of your race, even if you can't get into a first-rate university, it's absolutely fine. Haji's impression of the strength of Chen Yi's race was still on the plane of stigmata. I didn't know that Chen Yi's current strength of race could be used for the Imperial Capital University. Chen Yi nodded in cooperation. Yes, teacher, I will work hard. Well, that's right, don't be discouraged. At this time, the last school bus came and picked up all the students who took the college entrance examination in the second and first year of high school. Those who were able to take the college entrance examination in the second year of high school are also some Tianzhao figures. They are very curious about Chen Yi, who dared to take the college entrance examination in the first year of high school. But now is not the time for questioning, today is the most important day of their lives. It's the dragon or the phoenix today. If the college entrance examination fails, then you have to go to the temples to accumulate resources. But today in the temples, most of the opportunities have been taken away by the predecessors. Only the leftovers are their turn. Over time, the school bus has brought many students to the examination room. The examination room in Zhangzhou is very large, which can accommodate 50,000 candidates at the same time. The senior high school students in Zhangzhou City and the senior high school students in the counties below have all come here. A total of more than 30,000 people, Wuju decidedly gathered outside the examination room. There are 120 entrances and exits, and candidates are continuously admitted. Chen Yi also followed the crowd at this time, and followed the crowd to the exam checkpoint. After arriving at the exam checkpoint, he scanned Chen Yi's eyes and let Chen Yi in. After Chen Yi entered, he found that the hall was already densely packed with people. At this moment, a sphere-like robot floated beside Chen Yi. The robot was flashing blue, and it had two small wings on its body. Zhangzhou number 1 High School Class 10 Chen Yi, please go to seat AB12. Then the little robot took Chen Yi to his place. There are various small robots floating everywhere here, guiding various candidates. After Chen Yi sat down, he felt that his harvest plane was being watched by an indescribable existence. This is the legendary supreme god of fairness, monitoring all candidates. Chen Yi waited stubbornly, and there was still some time before the exam. When all the candidates came in, the door was closed, shutting everything out. There was a voice in Yi's ear. The new era 102 college entrance examination now begins. Then Chen Yi felt that his harvest plane was connected to a different space channel. Chen Yi immersed his consciousness in the plane of harvest and saw the passage of different space on the edge of the plane. In the following words, here is the passage through which the race enters. At this time, on the city wall, Cain has led all the Tauren to stand ready. The city wall is more than 30 meters high, and you can see the scene 10,000 meters away. That different space channel has ushered in the first round of enemies at this time. Skeleton. Countless skeletons gush out from that different space channel. Chen Yi extracted the attributes of those skeletons. Skull and crossbones. Level. Ordinary. Race. Undead. Basic strength. 2. Basic physique. 3. Basic agility. 1. Basic wisdom. 1. Talent. Resurrection of the dead. Skill. Swing. Slashing. Take the weapon in your hand and slash at the enemy to cause damage. The intensity of the enemy in the first round is very low. But if they are big, they are still likely to suffer heavy losses from being beaten by these skeletons. The purpose of the skeleton army is very clear, it is the city of Tauren. Some Tauren who have not participated in the war are still very nervous looking at the skeleton army that is full of mountains and plains. Cain saw the nervousness of his tribe, and then waved his hand. Don't worry about everyone. These skeletons are just paper tigers, and Sunflower can burn these skeletons to death. For the sake of the great harvest god, all these heretics will be driven out. Cain's yelling calmed some Tauren. Thinking that I was still on the city wall, how could those little skeletons come here? Then he yelled, for the great god of harvest, for glory. For the great god of harvest, for glory. The skeleton army walked very slowly, but with the passage of time, it has also come to the Sunflower. After the sunflower sensed the skeletons, the huge flower body suddenly sprayed out solar flames at the skeletons. These flames showed a bluish-white color, and the temperature was extremely high, reaching 5,000 to 6,000 degrees. After encountering the blue and white flames, the skeleton army was immediately burnt. The skeletons were originally dry, but after the fire burned, billowing smoke suddenly appeared. The dry bones and hooves snapped and immediately ignited the entire army of skeletons. At this time, there was a breeze from the sky, directly assisting the fire with the skeleton wind, and the burning became more violent. Some skeletons burning with flames had already rushed through the blockade of sunflower at this time. After not taking many steps, they were burned into black ashes. The Tauren looked at the skeletons that burned into billowing smoke, and immediately began to cheer on the city wall. It succeeded, it really succeeded. The power of the sunflower is too powerful. Like this undead army, it will not collapse before fighting with them, so the next invasion will not be as difficult as imagined. In the end, those undead army was burned to ashes, leaving behind countless dead soul fires. But those dead soul fires have no skeleton support, and they can no longer do anything at this time. The voice of the robot rang in Chen Yi's ear. Zhangzhou number 1 high school grade 10 Chen Yi passed the first round of exams, and the next round will start in 10 minutes. Chen Yi is full of confidence and doesn't know what will happen next. At this time the Tauren had begun to rest. Recharge your energy and prepare for the next battle. Finally, the time has come. A group of purple-skinned monsters holding flames appeared in that different space channel at this time. Those monsters have 2 huge ears on their heads, their eyes are like copper bells, and they show their fangs and howl constantly. After Chen Yi saw it, he couldn't help being a little surprised. Unexpectedly, it was a demon imp. This demon imp is a kind of lower demons, and it can also be said to be the original form of all demons. Even the middle demon or even the upper demon, originally evolved from this demon imp. Chen Yi then clicked on the attributes of the demon imp. Demon imp. Equal order, rare. Race, lower demon. Basic strength, 8. Basic physique, 10. Basic agility, 4. Basic wisdom, 2. Talent, devil's body. Devil's body, born in lava by nature, flame damage to it will be greatly reduced. Why is it good? Fire resistance plus 60%. Skill, throwing flames. Throwing flames throw the unquenchable demon fire, causing continuous burning damage to the enemy. Chen Yi looked at the tens of thousands of demon imps, and felt that this was definitely aimed at his sunflower. The race that others encounter is definitely not a demon imp. Unexpectedly, this different space transmission channel has an automatic adaptation function. At this time, the devil kid had already screamed and came to the sunflowers. Sunflower has also sprayed solar flame as usual. But this sun flame did not have much effect on those demon imps. Some demon imps have even pulled out the sunflowers, opened the devil's fang's mouth and ate them. Soon, the devil imp broke through the blockade of the sunflower, and most of the sunflower has been trampled to pieces. But the moat became a ditch between the devil imp and the Tauren city at this time. At this moment, those demon imps stood on the bank of the moat and shouted proudly. They can't touch the water. The demon flame in his hand madly went to the other side of the river. But just throwing more than 10 meters, the demon flame drifted away with the wind and disappeared between the heaven and the earth. Some of these demon imps have already begun to try, putting their feet in the water. But then it was this smoke, and the demon kid who encountered the water began to fester. Seeing this scene, Cain had already ordered the use of the dragon crossbow. The dragon crossbow is a giant crossbow made of the horns and tendons of the flame dragon before, plus the sun spar. Quack quack. The giant crossbow arrow carries a huge force, directly impacting the demon imps. Boom. The shock wave produced by the explosion directly blasted the large demon imp to the ground. This explosion was not only a flame attack but also a shock wave attack. Some demon imps that exploded into the moat had already begun to roll constantly. The moat was gassing with white smoke at this time, gurgling, and the demon kid suddenly turned into a stone statue and sank to the bottom of the river. Cain saw this scene and directly ordered the dragon war crossbow, start to blow up splashes. The Tauren guarding in front of the dragon warbow also understood Cain's thoughts. Then he aimed the dragon warrior at the moat. Quack. Sun spar crossbow arrows shot into the moat. Boom. With two loud noises, the mote 463 directly blew up water in the sky. Those splashes also turned into rain water directly, drenching them directly at the demon imps on the river bank. Ah! The devil kid suddenly screamed there. This most ordinary water is no less harmful to these demons than sulfuric acid to humans. Countless demon imps have been corrupted and festered. But their existence is for the college entrance examination. These demon imps violated instinct and began to jump into the moat. Wow! The demon imps suddenly turned into stone statues. But tens of thousands of demon imps jumped together, and gradually filled the moat that was more than 50 meters deep. A single wooden bridge formed by a stone statue of a devil and imp appeared over the moat at this time. Some of the remaining demon imps, at this time, had already stepped on the bridge and ran towards the city of Tauren. But before it passed, he was blown down by the arrows of the dragon crossbow. With the last demon imp turned into a stone statue, this second round of invasion has also come to an end. The sound of the machine rang in Chen Yi's ear. Zhangzhou number 1 high school grade 10. Chen Yi passed the second round of exams, and the next round will start in 10 minutes. Chen Yi's eyes were a little serious at this time. Unexpectedly, the second round would have been so difficult. If it weren't for the existence of the moat, it would take a long time for his Tauren to kill these demon imps. And then, the third round of exams has also begun. Trumpet. A murmur of footsteps came from the transmission channel in that different space. A monster with a pale white body rushed out of that different space at this time. The number is still tens of thousands. And these pale monsters have pointed ears and black eye sockets. The whole skin is like being soaked in water for decades. After Chen Yi saw it, he immediately extracted the attributes of those monsters. Ghoul Slayer. Level: Ordinary Arms. Race: Ghoul. Basic Strength: 12. Basic Physique: 15. Basic Agility: 28. Basic Wisdom: 4. Talent: Zombie. Ghouls, a special race of undead tribes. Swallowing corpses will gain vitality recovery and attack power bonus. Skills: Bite, Flutter. Bite: open the corpse to bite the enemy, causing bleeding and tearing damage. Flop: use your whole body power to rush the enemy and kill them. The third round of the college entrance examination has actually reached this level. The strength is stronger and stronger every time. The ghouls all over the mountains have already begun to run continuously, and they are not afraid at all when they come to the remaining sunflower. Some ghouls directly threw down the remaining sunflowers, and the sunflowers had already burned those ghouls into black smoke. But those ghouls seemed to know no pain, clinging to the sunflowers until the remaining ghouls all passed. The ghouls are not afraid when they come to the moat. Just jumped in one by one and swam in the river. These ghouls can all swim, and Ada gave an order to continue to blow up the ghouls with the dragon war crossbow. Boom, boom, boom. The monstrous waves blew up from the moat, mixed with the broken limbs of those ghouls. The corpses of some ghouls that were blown up on the shore were scattered around in a mess. When the surrounding ghouls saw them, they suddenly hugged the corpses and started to gnaw. Under the influence of the ghouls, the wounds that had just been exploded on the bodies of some ghouls have disappeared. Cain didn't care about these, directly ordered and continued shooting. The two dragons are constantly bombing, and the ghouls have already begun to appear in the gap of blockbuster films. Even with the talent of corpse cannibalism, there is no way to make up for the huge loss of troops. With the elimination of the last ghoul, this third round has also ended. The sound of the machine rang out in Chen Yi's ear. Zhangzhou number 1 high school grade 10. Chen Yi passed the third round of exams, and the next round will start in 10 minutes. Chen Yi suddenly felt that the enemy who reached the 10th round must only be reached by those who are proud of heaven, or even natural evildoers. To survive the 10th round, the race does not know how tough it is. However, Chen Yi felt that with his Tauren race, it was not impossible to sprint to the 10th round. After all, the basic attributes of his own Tauren clan have reached the level of a legendary race. There are 1,000 units of legendary races that can be transferred, which is definitely not something ordinary gods can achieve. If you can enter the Imperial Capital University, you will definitely be able to see countless geniuses and evildoers. Chen Yi suddenly looked forward to it. At this time, the machine sounded. The fourth round of offense begins. Chen Yi immediately immersed his consciousness in the plane of harvest. At this time, that different space channel has begun to continuously transmit races. Chen Yi also saw the appearance of that race at this time. The whole body was covered with scales, the whole body turned blue and red, the body was covered with armor, and the hand was holding a mace covered with spikes. Lizard Man. The fourth round is actually this race. Chen Yi extracted the attributes of the Lizard Man. Lizard Man Berserker. Level: Ordinary Arms. Race: Lizard Man. Basic Strength: 28. Basic Physique: 35. Basic Agility: 13. Basic Wisdom: 5. Talent: Hard Skin, Anger of Mad War. Hard Skin. Lizardmen are born with hard and scaly skin, which can reduce damage to attacks. Physical Resistance plus 15%. Magic Resistance plus 5%. Furious Fighting Fury: the more you fight, the stronger you fight, the more you fight, and the more you fight, the more you lose 1% of your vitality, your attack power will increase by 1%. Skills: Whirlwind, Heavy Blow. Active Skills: Whirlwind, Heavy Blow. Whirlwind: wielding a weapon, sweeping the battlefield like a whirlwind, consuming a certain amount of energy. 50% bonus to attack power. Strike: unleash the power of the whole body and give the enemy a fatal blow. Consume a lot of energy. 4 to 100%. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.